Chapter 204. The area they're in has simply become a vacuum zone. No wild beast dares to approach. Occasionally, a bird carelessly falls, and immediately cries out in alarm, desperately flapping its wings to escape. Gao Qinyu and Shen Xiaoro both think that this is Bai Chen's grief and anger, and the pressure he unconsciously emits to scare away the strange beasts. Only Xiao Bao and Mu Yan look down at the white-furred rabbit that's lying on its stomach, snoring loudly. After this night, the rabbit has become a whole circle fatter. But no one noticed that all the strange beasts in the Wuwang Mountains began to disappear without a trace after the fat rabbit returned. As soon as the sky brightens and the line of sight becomes clear, everyone quickly returns to the mountain road. Yan Haotian and Feng Haitang are waiting in front of the carriage. Seeing Mu Yan and Xiao Bao arrive, the two don't look anxious or nervous. They just respectfully salute and open the curtain. Mu Yan doesn't leave immediately, but looks at Bai Chen instead. After a night of settling, Bai Chen's expression has already calmed down. Only the rims of his eyes are still slightly red. But Mu Yan doesn't know whether it's calmness or insanity that has settled down. Bai Chen steps forward and respectfully bows towards Mu Yan, many thanks to Miss June and the little Gongzi for helping Sidong. I, Bai Chen, may not be able to repay this great kindness in this life, but I hope that in the next life. Call me Mu Yan. This is my son, Xiao Bao. Mu Yan says softly, in a sense, I also owe Lin Sidong a favor. So, you don't have to repay me. If Lin Sidong hadn't contracted the sacred beast egg, Mu Yan would have been a step too late, and Gong Qinshue would have gotten the sacred beast. But Lin Sidong also died a violent death because of her rebirth. This is what she owes Bai Chen and Lin Sidong. Mu Yan stares at Bai Chen, and softens her voice. Gong Qinshue and I have an irreconcilable enmity. One day, I will consign her to eternal damnation. Bai Chen, are you willing to wait? Bai Chen stares blankly at first, then his eyes reveal a grateful expression. But he still shakes his head. There's not a trace of hesitation in his eyes, even a trace of irrevocable determination. Mu Yan, thank you for your kindness. However, Sidong is my fiancée, and she has been murdered. I don't care who caused her death, I must take revenge myself. Mu Yan knows that Bai Chen has already made up his mind. No one could change it. She softly sighs again, and throws out a bottle of draft. Drink it at the most critical juncture, perhaps it can give you a slim chance of survival. If you need my help, go to the Ghost City to find Shin Tuesday. Even if you want to take revenge, you can only do so with your life intact. Uncle Rabbit Lantern. Xiao Bao stepped forward, opened his hand, and placed a black bead in Bai Chen's palm. This is for you from Rabbit. Bai Chen was taken aback. He took the black bead, but he couldn't tell what was so special about it. Also, what did the rabbit mean by giving it to him? Glancing at the fat rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms, he saw that it had turned over, flicked its paws, and slept soundly. However, since it's Xiao Bao's kind intentions, Bai Chen shows a rare smile. He reaches out and gently strokes Xiao Bao's head. Sidong said that after we get married, she will give me a boy and a girl. If, maybe our children will be as cute as Xiao Bao. Chapter 205. However, this wish, he will never be able to realize it in this lifetime. His Sidong has left him forever. Xiao Bao's beautiful blue eyes flash, and he stretches out his little hand to wipe away the tears on Bai Chen's face. His childish voice isn't cold, but has a hint of softness. Uncle, don't be sad, that sister said. She's most afraid that senior brother will be sad. Bai Chen abruptly straightens up, and no longer lingers, he quickly leaves. Gao Qinyu stares blankly, and without thinking, he quickly follows. Senior brother, wait for me. Senior brother, why are you leaving? Shen Xiaoro still hasn't reacted. Seeing that Bai Chen has left, she anxiously shouts, "Senior brother, aren't you going to go back to Tianyuan City with me to see my mother?" But the answer she gets is Bai Chen walking further and further away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Shen Xiaoro fiercely stomps her feet, gnashing her teeth. Lin Sitong, that slut, even in death, she still wants to forcibly occupy my senior brother. Serves you right to die without a complete corpse, dying in a foreign land. However, thinking that Lin Sitong is already dead, even if senior brother misses her now, after a long time, he will naturally forget her. At that time, she will still be able to forcibly occupy senior brother. Thinking of this, Shen Xiaoro's mood finally calms down a little. But she still fiercely glares at Mayan. "Jun Mayan, if it weren't for your big mouth, senior brother wouldn't have left. Who told you to mention that little slut Lin Sitong?" Mayan's lips curl up, but the smile doesn't reach her eyes. "You can go with Bai Chen and the others." Shen Xiaoro's expression immediately stagnates, and she lets out a hollow laugh. "Of course, I have to send you home first, little sister Mayan. Father and mother miss you very much. Alright, don't delay any longer, let's hurry up, we'll reach Tianyuan City soon." As soon as she turns around, Shen Xiaoro's face shows a malicious expression. "Jun Mayan, how can I leave if I don't go back to Tianyuan City and send you into the fire pit? The Wuwang Mountains won't trap you to death, but when you enter the fire pit, the things that Ghost City gives you will still be mine." Mayan looks at her back as she quickly boards the carriage. Her eyes narrow, and her face shows a mocking smile. Close to noon, Mayan and her party finally entered Tianyuan City. But before going to the Shen family, Mayan tells Yan Haoyan and Feng Haitang not to travel with her. "You guys wait here for Magistrate Dai to deliver the gift, and give him the special draft that I've just refined. After that, there is no need for you to come to the Shen residence. Go directly to the city and buy a courtyard for me." Feng Haitang glanced at Shen Xiaoro, who was not far away. "If we don't follow Miss, what if the Shen family's people bully Miss?" Mayan chuckles, "Don't worry, a mere Su Yuexiang, I don't care." Su Yuexiang is the current matriarch of the Shen family and also Shen Xiaoro's mother. Feng Haitang still wanted to say something, but was pulled away by Yan Haoyan. Feng Haitang only knows that Mu Yan is very strong, but she doesn't know to what extent. But who else could understand Mayan's strength better than Yan Haoyan? Feng Haitang's small hand was held in Yan Haoyan's broad and rough palm. Her mind was shaken, and she swallowed back all the words she wanted to say. Just like that, she obediently lets him hold her hand, and obediently lowers her head as she follows behind him, heading towards the center of the city. Her beautiful face, which was usually as cold as ice, had a rare blush on it. Chapter 206. It's clear that the two have feelings for each other, but she doesn't know what Yan Haoyan, this blockhead, is tangled up about. Don't wait until it's too late for regrets. Why did you drive away your two servants? Shen Xiaoro asks in surprise when she sees Yan Haoyan and Feng Haitang leave. Mu Yan doesn't leave, directly treating her as heir. Shen Xiaoro's face distorts in anger, but she soon whispers, "Slut, with that big guy around, I wouldn't dare to touch you easily. Now, you're courting death, driving away the people who can protect you. Your good days are over." Turning around, she immediately smiles. Okay, we've been delayed for a long time, let's hurry back to the Shen family. Tianyuan City, Shen family. Shen Xiaoro and Mu Yan's carriage has just stopped at the gate. The guards on both sides see Shen Xiaoro and immediately run over excitedly. "Eldest miss, you're back. If you didn't come back, the Lu family would tear down our Shen family." Shen Xiaoro immediately shivers when she hears this, and her face turns pale. Subconsciously, she wants to run. But when she turns around and sees Mu Yan standing behind her, her face immediately changes from fear to joy. She stops and looks at the anxious guard. If the Lu family comes, then so be it. What's there to be afraid of? But the Lu family came. The guard looks at her and hesitates. Moreover, the Lu family came almost every day these days. Madam can't stand it anymore. Okay, I got it. Shen Xiaoro says impatiently, mind your own business, don't talk too much. She turns to face Mu Yan, revealing a smile. Little sister Mu Yan, let's go in quickly. I think mother will be very happy to see you. Really? I miss her very much too. Mu Yan lifts her eyelids, holding Xiao Bao's hand, and slowly follows behind her. The direct culprits of the previous incident have all been killed by her. However, is it really only the Su family who conspired to kill her? Not necessarily, right? In her previous life, she didn't come to settle accounts with them for the sake of her adoptive father and brother. But in this life, since they came to her door, then she will not let go of anyone who tried to frame her and Xiao Bao. The front hall of the Shen family was filled with many people. Su Yuexiang, regarding this marriage, you must give me an explanation today. A rotund woman slammed her fat palm on the table and angrily shouted. The force of the slap was so great that the teacups on the table made a clanging sound. Sitting in the seat of honor, Su Yuexiang's beautiful face was filled with panic and grievance, as if she had been greatly bullied. Wiping her tears with a handkerchief, she said, Patriarch Lu, Madam Lu, this matter is really a misunderstanding. It can't be counted. I think it's better to cancel this engagement. Cancel? What kind of joke is this? When Madame Lu heard this, she became even angrier. She smashed the teacup in her hand on the ground and screamed, Su Yuexiang, I'm telling you, there's no way you can cancel this marriage. Even if your daughter dies, she must marry into my Lu family. Sob, sob, sob. I'm scared. I'm scared. Madame Lu's fury makes the person next to her tremble and sob. Chapter 207. That man's body is twice as big as Madame Lu's. Madame Lu is already considered obese, but this man's flesh is completely horizontal. When he sits on the chair, the flesh on his waist bulges out, directly hanging down to the sides. Looking at his appearance, he's clearly an adult in his 20s, but his face is silly. Snot flows down from his nose from time to time, falling into his mouth. He smacks his lips and swallows it down. Madame Lu is fierce towards Su Yuexiang, but when she sees this fatty, her face immediately changes. Oh, Qingkai, be good, mother is marrying you a wife. Wait until you get married, then you can hug your wife to sleep. When Lu Qingkai hears this, he immediately turns crying into joy, clapping his fat hands and shouting, good, good. Marrying a wife. Stripping her naked and sleeping, Qingkai likes it. Su Yuexiang only feels nauseous when she hears this. She wants her pampered daughter to marry this kind of fool. Simply a dream. She holds back her anger and disgust, gritting her teeth and saying, Madame Lu, don't go too far. That engagement is just a child's play, it simply doesn't count. What's more, my daughter is now Ziyang Zong's foundation, and her future husband is Yanwu Continent's famous Bai Chen. I advise you to give up on this idea. My Shen family will not marry our daughter to a. Su Yuexiang still hasn't finished her words. She only hears a loud bang. It's the burly man sitting on the left, slamming his palm on the table. Compared to Madame Lu's palm, which only shook the teacups, this man's palm directly caused a crack to appear on the table. And the hall is also filled with a terrible pressure. Madam Shen, are you saying that my Lu family's son isn't worthy of your Shen family's daughter? Su Yuexiang looks at the fiendish Lu family's master, and suddenly shivers. Her heart is simply regretting to the point that her intestines turn green. At that time, in order to get the Lu family's help, she promised to become in-laws with them. Su Yuexiang's original plan was very good. She wanted to directly pass off that displeasing little goblin as Shen family's daughter, and marry that fool of the Lu family. But she didn't expect that little goblin to be so unyielding. Before she could marry him, she committed suicide. Now, this marriage had actually fallen into the hands of her precious daughter. Su Yuexiang forced out a smile and said, "Patriarch Lu, please calm down. I didn't mean it that way." But she didn't finish her sentence. A high-pitched female voice came from outside, "Uncle Lu, don't worry. My mother didn't mean that. Since this marriage was agreed to by my mother, she will naturally keep her promise." As he spoke, Shen Xiaorou's figure leisurely walked over with an arrogant smile on her face. When Su Yuexiang saw her daughter, she was delighted. When he heard Shen Xiaorou's words, his expression changed. You, Shen Xiaorou smiled faintly and said meaningfully, "Mother, don't worry. Isn't the Lu family just going to marry a daughter of the Shen family? We'll just marry one of them." Madame Lu and Patriarch Lu, on the other hand, happily said, "So to say, Xiaorou, you are planning to marry into our Lu family and become our Qingcai's daughter-in-law?" As soon as Lu Qingcai saw Shen Xiaorou, his saliva flowed even more fiercely. His plump body straightened up and pounced towards Shen Xiaorou. "Wife, beautiful wife. Let's strip naked and sleep." Chapter 208. Scram, damn fatty. She pushed him away heavily, using her profound energy. Lu Qingcai immediately fell to the ground and fell on his face, crying loudly. Patriarch Lu and Madame Lu's complexions instantly became gloomy. "Shen Xiaorou, what do you mean by this?" Shen Xiaorou resisted the nausea and hurriedly went forward to help Lu Qingcai up. Only then did he pull out a smile and say, "Lu family head, Madame Lu, please don't misunderstand. My Shen family has an engagement with your Lu family, but there's no stipulation on which daughter is to be married over, right? I'm not the only daughter in the Shen family." Madame Lu was startled. "What do you mean?" A strange smile appeared on Shen Xiaorou's face. Lifting the curtain, she let Madame Lu and the rest look outside. In a pavilion in the courtyard, a girl dressed in white was leaning against the railing. Her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall, and her skin was as smooth as snow. She was so beautiful that she didn't seem like a mortal. What was even more shocking was her temperament. His posture was clearly languid and leisurely, but there was a kind of otherworldly and dignified aura in his every movement. It was as if the Empyrean fairy from the 9 heavens had fallen into the mortal world. Patriarch Lu's eyes widened as he gulped down a mouthful of saliva. Lu Qingcai's saliva dripped down like rain. Beauty. Fairy. Sister fairy. I want this. Qingcai wants sister fairy. I don't want this ugly monster. When Shen Xiaorou heard this, her nose almost became crooked from anger. This fool actually dared to call her ugly. However, thinking of being able to marry Mayan to this disgusting fool, Shen Xiaorou's anger subsided again. She smiled sinisterly and said, "How about it? Are Patriarch Lu and Madame Lu satisfied with this future wife?" "Yes. Very satisfied." Family head Lu nodded his head repeatedly. Seeing this, Madame Lu's face contorted. "No. Just because you say she's a daughter of the Shen family, she's a daughter of the Shen family. What if you get a fake to fool my Lu family?" Before Shen Xiaorou could say anything, Lu Qingcai was already indignant. He sat down on the ground and cried loudly, "I want fairy sister, I want fairy sister. I don't want this ugly monster." "Good. Good. Then marry this one. Marry this. As long as Qingcai likes it, it's fine." How could Madame Lu win against her son? She was immediately defeated. At this moment, Shen Xiaorou's face finally revealed a complacent smile. Since that's the case, why don't we set the wedding date as soon as possible? I think we should set it for 7 days from now. Men and women of Jianghu, this is an urgent matter. There's no need for 3 matchmakers or 6 betrothal gifts. The Liu family can just send a bridal sedan chair to take her away. When the Liu family heard that they could gain such a big advantage, how could they not be happy? Shen Xiaorou continued, but you also know that my fairy-like sister would definitely not be willing to marry young Master Liu. Even if it's the orders of our parents or the words of a matchmaker, if she resists with all her might, my mother and I can't do anything to her. Ha ha ha. You don't have to worry about this. Patriarch Liu patted his chest loudly, but his eyes revealed a ruthless glint. There's no one that my Liu family can't get if we want them. If a little girl wants to resist, she'll have to see if she can get out of my grasp first. While speaking, the Liu family's patriarch emitted an earth-tier pressure, causing Shen Xiaorou's complexion to change, and she retreated several steps. Chapter 209. Is that person really Jun Mayan? Su Yuexiang's voice abruptly interjects. Shen Xiaorou turns around and nods. Yes, mother, that slut Jun Mayan actually didn't die. I suspect that the deaths of my aunt and cousin are related to this slut. Mother, I made that slut suffer a fate worse than death. It can be considered as revenge for aunt, cousin brother, and cousin sister. Su Yuexiang curled her lips in disdain, then frowned slightly. Su Yuexiang had no feelings for Su Zhiyong's family. The reason was that Su Zhiyong's team was too useless. His older brother, Su Dingan, was already in his 40s, but he was only in the middle of the yellow class. Su Zhiyong, on the other hand, hadn't even reached the yellow class before he died. He was only at the beginning of ancient martial arts. Back then, they were asked to deal with Mayan because they were the easiest to order around, and no one would notice. If this kind of trash died, then so be it. She, Su Yuexiang, would not care about him. But, how could Jun Mayan come back alive? In Su Yuexiang's mind, she can't help but recall the group of black-clothed men who asked her about Jun Mayan's background and the bloodline of the unborn child in her belly. That group of black-clothed men was so powerful that it made people shudder. Weren't those people going to kill Mayan? How could he allow this woman to live? Mother, what's wrong? Don't tell me you don't agree to let that slut marry into the Shen family instead of me. Shen Xiaorou's voice rang out, bringing Su Yuexiang back to her senses. Agree, of course I agree. You've really grown up and can share your mother's worries. Hee hee. Jun Mayan was pregnant out of wedlock at that time, and had already lost her chastity. She's a fickle slut, and the Liu family can carry her in a sedan chair. She should be laughing up her sleeve. However, during this period of time, we must find someone to keep a close eye on her. We must not let her run away before the Liu family comes to carry her away. In the courtyard, Mayan peels a grape and sends it to Xiao Bao's mouth. She chuckles softly, baby, don't be so serious. If you frown too much, you'll become a little old man. Xiao Bao shuddered. That annoying lecher immediately appeared in his mind. Was he going to become a little old man like that lecher? No way. Xiao Bao puffed out his cheeks and slightly arched his eyebrows, meaning that he had laughed. However, this little adult appearance makes Mayan convulse with laughter. When he was done laughing, he asked, baby, why are you so angry? Little Bao's expression suddenly turned grim. Because they want to scheme against mother. Just now, he had just casually walked around the house and circulated his Xian Qi to the ear acupuncture point. All the sounds in the room were transmitted into his ears. Those scoundrels wanted to scheme against his mother, so he wouldn't let those scoundrels succeed. Xiao Bao clenched his small fists. Xiao Bao will protect mother. Mu Yan looks at the room that Shen Xiaoro entered with a smile that isn't a smile. Shen Xiaoro asked her to wait here for a while. She waited here and didn't go in. But that didn't mean she didn't know what was happening inside. Mu Yan withdraws her gaze, picks up Xiao Bao and kisses him on the cheek. Don't worry about those boring things. Doesn't Xiao Bao want to go with Nyangqin to see the place where Nyangqin grew up? Xiao Bao immediately nods. Although there's no expression on his little face, his pair of blue eyes are sparkling. There used to be a swing here. Father personally made it for me. Chapter 210. The first gift my big brother gave me was personally carved by him using the stones here. Xiao Bao couldn't help but raise his head and look at Mayan. Does Nyangqin have a father? Does Nyangqin have a brother? Yes. Although we are not related by blood, they used to be my most important family. But... Mayan stares blankly, then lowers her head and smiles. Xiao Bao has to call Nyangqin's father and brother grandpa and uncle, understand? Xiao Bao nods, not really understanding. Mayan's eyes reveal a touch of remembrance. She has lived in the Shen family for more than 10 years. Everything about her childhood is already blurred, and she can't remember it. Her memories and joy began with the Shen family. However, her pain also began with the Shen family. When her adoptive father brought her back to the Shen family, the mistress of the Shen family was not Su Yuexiang, but an extremely gentle and kind woman, Tsing Xiuying. Her brother, Shen Jinglin, was Tsing Xiuying's biological son. During the time when Tsing Xiuying was alive, Mayan was very happy and very warm. However, the good times didn't last long. When Tsing Xiuying was pregnant for several months, Su Yuexiang came to the door with the already 6-year-old Shen Xiaoro. She claimed that Shen Xiaoro was the Shen father's flesh and blood. Tsing Xiuying questioned the Shen father, but he was unable to answer. In the end, he could only say 4 words, drunkenness. Tsing Xiuying received such a blow, her mind was greatly shaken, and in the end, 2 lives were lost. However, the Shen father was pressured by the Su family, and had no choice but to marry Su Yuexiang. From then on, the good days of Mayan and her brother came to an end. Su Yuexiang even took advantage of the time when the Shen father and brother went out to gain experience, and directly sent her to the Su family. So that she was drugged, and mistakenly entered the forbidden area, so that she was secretly pregnant, and the fetus in her belly was coveted, so that in her past life, Mayan closes her eyes. It's impossible to say that she doesn't blame the Shen father and the Shen family. However, the Shen father still has the grace of raising her for more than 10 years. What's more, the Shen family still has her brother, the brother who was the best to her since she was young. She slowly opens her eyes, and all her emotions have already been restrained. But the moment she opens her eyes, she sees a tall man on crutches, limping in through the door and heading towards the front hall. However, before he could enter the corridor, he was stopped by a person who looked like a steward. Go, go, go. Do you think you can come in here? Hurry up and get lost. Mu Yan originally thought that this lame man was a servant of the mansion. Go away, I want to see Su Yuexiang. However, when the man opened his mouth, Mu Yan's eyes suddenly widened. This is Big Brother's voice. Mu Yan gazes at it with rapt attention. The man in front of him was a young man in his 20s, but there was a deep scar on his face, and he looked extremely haggard. Most importantly, there wasn't even a trace of profound energy fluctuation on his body, and the space between his brows was even suffused with a wisp of heavy aura of death. But this person's brows, eyes, and figure were clearly her big brother, Shen Jinglin, the eldest young master of the Shen family with boundless prospects. When Mu Yan last saw Shen Jinglin, he was already at the peak of the yellow stage. But now, Shin Jinglin was already a cripple who did not know martial arts at all. For a moment, Mu Yan stares blankly at that figure, as if it was a lifetime ago, and bursts of sorrow welled up in her heart. Xiao Bao feels Mu Yan's emotions, and gently squeezes her hand. Nyangqin, who is he? Chapter 2:11. The child's tender voice pulls Mayan back from her thoughts. She was about to answer when she saw Shin Jinglin being ruthlessly pushed by the steward. Due to the inconvenience of his legs, he fell to the ground and dropped his crutch a few meters away. His wretched appearance caused the manager and the surrounding attendants to burst into laughter. Is Madam's name something a piece of trash like you can call out? The steward took a few steps forward and mocked, you don't know what's good for you. No wonder someone broke one of your legs. Now, I think you don't even want your other leg. As he spoke, he lifted his foot to step on Shin Jinglin's knee. However, just as he lifted his foot, he heard a whooshing sound. Immediately after, a cracking sound came from the knee on which he was standing, as well as a piercing pain. Oh, it hurts. It hurts so much. The steward howled like a pig being slaughtered and fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked to find that his kneecap was completely broken, and his entire leg was hanging limply. In this way, he was destined to become a cripple even more than Shin Jinglin. There was no hope. In the midst of everyone's shock, they saw a young girl as beautiful as a fairy walk forward, holding the hand of a little boy carved from jade. The young girl slowly crouched down in front of Shin Jinglin and softly called out, "Big brother." Shin Jinglin's expression was somewhat absent-minded, his eyes also somewhat blurred. After a long while, he finally focused his attention on this girl who was so beautiful that she didn't seem like a mortal. "What, did you call me?" Mayan couldn't bear it anymore. Her eyes reddened and her voice became hoarse. "Brother, I'm sorry," Yen Yen came back late. She did not know what kind of twist history had taken. In her previous life, although her brother would die during the training a year later, before that, he had always been in high spirits, and his cultivation had already reached the peak of the profound stage. Mayan had thought about changing the outcome of her brother's death, but because of her complicated feelings towards the Shin father, she has always been hesitant and unwilling to come back. But she didn't expect that her brother in this life was actually in such a miserable state. In the Shin family, Shin Jinglin is the person who treats Mayan the best. As long as Mayan is bullied, no matter who is right or wrong, Shin Jinglin will stand up for her. At this moment, Mu Yan almost hates herself. Why couldn't he come back earlier? After hearing Mu Yan's answer, Shin Jinglin's pupils contract and enlarge a little. His breathing became heavy, and his body trembled slightly. A pair of eyes stare unwaveringly at Mayan's face, searching inch by inch, as if to find a familiar trace on her face. "Yen Yen, you are." "Yen Yen. Guards! Arrest this villain for me." The steward, who had one of his legs crippled, finally awakes from the pain. He points at Mayan and roars. As if awakened from a dream, the manservants quickly rush over and surround Mayan and the other two. Shin Jinglin abruptly stood up, shielding Mu Yan and Xiao Bao behind him. "What do you want to do? This is Shin family's second miss, still not withdrawing for me." Without the support of crutches, his body swayed as if he would fall at any time. However, his heart is exceptionally determined to protect Mayan. It was just like how her brother had stood in front of her countless times. But Shin Jinglin's scolding, not only did it not make the Shin family's guards afraid, instead each and every one of them laughed heartily. Chapter 2:12. Shaming after shaming, Shin Jinglin's eyes flash with shame, indignation, and pain. But he still straightens his back, refusing to retreat even half a step. Mu Yan gently pats his shoulder, softly saying, "Brother, don't worry, leave it to me." Saying that, she walks past Shen Jinglin and slowly steps forward. What are you? Slap. 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 Before these manservants could react, they feel a figure flash before their eyes. Immediately after, their faces feel a burst of burning pain. In the blink of an eye, everyone has been slapped in the face. Mu Yan gently brushes her clothes, raising her eyes to look at everyone present. Your mouth is so smelly, can't you speak properly? Then I'll teach you how to speak. As soon as her voice falls, those manservants suddenly seem to be bewitched. They raise their hands and slap their own faces again and again. After a while, every manservant's face is swollen like a pig's head. But each and every one of them is slapping very happily. Every time they slap themselves, they reveal a comfortable and intoxicated expression. This scene is really unspeakably strange. The steward doesn't even care about the pain of his broken kneecap, trembling as he points at Mu Yan. You, who are you? Do you know where this place is? Offending our master, you won't have a good end. Mu Yan sneers, takes a step forward, and raises her foot to kick. The steward screams again, flying out like a kite with a broken string. With a bang, he crashes through the wooden door, falling straight into the Shen family's front hall. Want to know who I am? I think it's better to let your master tell you. In the front hall, Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro, who are in the middle of a conspiracy, are alarmed. They see the steward covered in blood, his leg broken, and he has already fainted. Then they look at Mu Yan, who is leisurely walking and holding Xiao Bao's hand, and they can't help but shiver. An instinctive fear rises from the bottom of their hearts. Mu Yan chuckles. She first helps Shen Jinglin to sit down, then she leisurely holds Xiao Bao and casually sits down. Aunt Su, it's been a long time. Su Yuexiang stares blankly for a while, then her expression hardens. Mu Yan, what are you doing? You haven't been back for a few years, and the moment you return, you show off in front of me. Is this how a daughter should behave? Why aren't you kneeling down? Mu Yan raised her head and sneered. Su Yuexiang, who do you think you are? You want me to kneel to you, do you think you're worthy? Su Yuexiang was completely stunned. She never thought that the previously cowardly and obedient Jun Mayan, after returning 5 years later, he had actually become so strong. Not only did he directly hit her people, he even dared to speak ill of her. Rebel. Men, capture her for me. Soon, a large group of people rushed into the house. It was the group of servants who had beaten his face into a pig's head. Seeing their appearance, Mu Yan couldn't help but burst out laughing. What? Do you think you haven't slapped me enough and want to try again? As soon as these words came out, the manservants all retreated a few steps in horror as if they had seen an evil spirit. Afterwards, no matter how much Su Yuexiang urged them, no matter how Shen Xiaoro cursed them, they all cowered, not daring to step forward. Mu Yan clicked her tongue and shook her head, sighing. Aunt Su, why do you have to do this? We haven't seen each other for a long time, don't tell me Aunt Su doesn't want to reminisce with me. Chapter 213. When she turns around to face Mayan again, there's already a gentle and kind smile hanging on her face. It's as if that fiendish fiend just now, the one yelling to kill Mayan, wasn't her. Su Yuexiang's face alternated between green and white. After a long while, she gritted her teeth and ordered the manservant and the unconscious steward to leave. When she turns around to face Mayan again, there's already a gentle and kind smile hanging on her face. It's as if that fiendish fiend just now, the one yelling to kill Mayan, wasn't her. Mu Yan, where have you been all these years? Why didn't he come home? Aunt Su misses you a lot. Saying that, he glanced at Xiao Bao beside Mu Yan. A mocking smile flashes through his eyes, but his face is full of worry as he says, Oh my, this is the seed that you and that wild man from who knows where, gave birth to. You knew that you were pregnant before marriage. Why didn't you abort the child and give birth to it? Do you know how much damage it would do to our Shin family's reputation if word got out that you gave birth to a child at such a young age? Shin Xiaoro sneered and said, Mother, don't worry. Some people are very shameless. Even if they have a child out of wedlock and don't even know who the father is, they can still shamelessly hook up with men everywhere. If you think she'll be embarrassed, then you're wrong. Don't talk nonsense and slander Yan Yan. Shin Jinglin couldn't listen anymore. His eyes are red, and he bellows, don't think that I don't know that back then, Yan Yan was all because of you mother and daughter. Shin Xiaoro raises her eyebrows, what a joke, she, Jun Mayan, wants to get together with a wild man, what does that have to do with us? Alright. It's all in the past. Su Yueshang smiles and comes out to smooth things over. She looks at Mayan with a kind face, Mayan, don't worry, you're my daughter after all. Even if you have a burden and your reputation is ruined, Aunt Su will find a way to find a good marriage for you. Mu Yan makes an oh sound and says meaningfully, then I'll have to trouble Aunt Su. Yan, tell me what you need, and I'll get it for you. Clothes, bedding, and... Shin Jinglin walks around Mayan's room on crutches. Mu Yan looked at his busy appearance and did not stop him. Instead, the corners of her lips curled up, revealing a smile. Because, when they reunited, Shin Jinglin's eyes had a hint of determination to die. When he was busy with himself, it almost disappeared. When he's done, Mayan pulls Xiaobao over and says, Brother, look, this is my son Xiaobao, his name is Jun Machin. Xiaobao, call me uncle. Xiaobao tilted his little head and sized up the person in front of him. But when he heard Mayan's words, he immediately obediently called out, Uncle. Although she was expressionless, her small face was too cute. Shin Jinglin was overjoyed. He reached out to touch Xiaobao's face, but then withdrew his hand awkwardly. Good. Xiaobao has already grown up, and my nephew looks so much like you, Yan. He reached into his washed clothes and searched for a long time, but he couldn't find anything. I'm sorry, Xiaobao. Uncle can't even give you a greeting gift. Chapter 2:14. The childish words spoken in a crisp, childish voice make the rims of Shin Jinglin's eyes redden in an instant. Xiaobao is good, Xiaobao is really good. In the blink of an eye, you've grown so big. Uncle couldn't see you born, nor could he see you grow up. Shin Jinglin turns his back, wiping away the tears that have welled up in his eyes. Big brother, let me see your leg. Hearing that, Shin Jinglin shakes his head again and again. Don't look, big brother's leg doesn't look good. Mayan stares at him without blinking. Shin Jinglin sits down dejectedly, compromising. Ever since he was a child, he couldn't refuse any of his sister's requests. Mayan carefully rolls up the trouser leg of his broken leg. When she sees that twisted and atrophied calf with blue veins all over it, Mayan's breathing suddenly stagnates. Shin Jinglin says awkwardly, I said it doesn't look good, don't look, my leg can't be cured, it's already crippled, even the best doctor in Tianyuan City can't cure it. Mayan endures the pain in her heart and asks in a low voice, how did it break? I accidentally hurt it when I was training. I don't think so, right? Mayan raises her head, her eyes cold. This bone was clearly broken by someone. Moreover, it was broken several times in a row. The gap on the leg's tendons was clearly cut by a sharp blade. Mayan stares unblinkingly at Shin Jinglin's eyes. Brother, tell me, how did you train to injure yourself like this? Shin Jinglin abruptly turns his head, avoiding Mayan's eyes. But his hands are tightly clenched into fists. Yan, don't ask, you can't take care of this matter, big brother is begging you, don't look into it anymore. The room is silent. Even Xiao Bao can feel that his mother's mood is very bad. Someone is bound to be unlucky. Mayan takes a deep breath, and only after a long while does she manage to suppress her emotions. Okay, I can ignore this matter for the time being. But I'll take care of your legs from now on. I'll treat it. Shen Jinglin smiles bitterly. Yen Yen, don't be stubborn. Don't say that you haven't studied medicine. Even if you had, you still can't cure my leg. Even the best doctor in Tianyuan City said that it was hopeless. Brother, just say it, do you want me to treat you or not? Mu Yan didn't care what Shen Jinglin said and went straight to the point. Shen Jinglin saw his little sister's attitude of, if you don't agree, I'll get angry. There was no more conflict. Wasn't it just a leg? They were all crippled anyway. So what if he treated his younger sister as a guinea pig? Alright, I'll let you treat me, But if you can't cure it, don't cry. It's not your fault, okay? Shen Jinglin's impression of Mu Yan is still that of 5 years ago. That cute girl who was obedient, gentle, and occasionally had a little temper, but was also incomparably kind and cute. But he didn't know. The Mu Yan standing in front of her is already a devil that has returned from hell. Shen Jinglin's leg could not be cured in a day or two. Mu Yan needs a detailed diagnosis in order to make a perfect medical plan. Furthermore, he did not have enough medicinal herbs for the treatment. Even if she is unwilling, Mayan can only let go of this idea first. Then, she asked about another matter. Brother, I heard that father is sick. How is father now? Why won't Su Yuexiang let me see father? After the conversation, Mu Yan proposed to visit her father. She had originally heard from Shen Xiaoro that the Shen father was sick, so she came. Chapter 2:15. Shen Jinglin's expression changes, then he guiltily avoids Mayan's line of sight. Father is fine, he's recuperating right now and is not suitable to meet guests. You've just returned home, you should rest for a few days first, then go see father. Mayan frowns. Brother, are you hiding something from me? Shen Jinglin promptly shakes his head. No. Yen, big brother only wants you to protect yourself and live happily. Don't be like brother. Looking at Shen Jinglin's departing back, Mayan's expression becomes more and more suspicious. When she just asked about her father's situation, she felt that Shen Jinglin's lethargic will to die come back. What's going on? Nyangqin, Xiao Bao can go to the Shen Fu at night. Xiao Bao looks up. A little bean sprout less than a meter tall, with a taut little face, says that he wants to go to the Shen Fu at night. Mu Yan burst out laughing in a very unkind manner. Xiao Bao is immediately depressed. Turning his back, he puffs his cheeks and ignores Mayan. Mayan quickly carries him back, and coaxes her darling for a while, making Xiao Bao's resentment disappear. But Xiao Bao still feels indignant. Nyangqin still treats him as a child after all. It would be great if Xiao Bao could be as powerful as that lecher. Murmuring words overflow from Xiao Bao's mouth, making Mayan stare blankly. Lecher. Di Mingju, unknowingly, she hasn't seen this man for almost a month. From now on, they won't meet again, right? Xiuxian Continent, Polar Domain. Reporting to Junshang, Tian Yimen's Ling Qingwan Ferry requests an audience. Di Mingju doesn't raise his head, coldly saying, no. The people below respectfully respond, as you command. Saying that, he turns around to go out. Wait a minute. There's an old voice at the side. Junshang, Qingwan Ferry must have an important matter to ask for an audience, you should meet her. You should know that Qingwan Ferry is Tian Yimen's chief disciple, and also the most likely next sect leader. Her medical skills are the best in the world. No matter how powerful the people of my polar domain are, in the future, we can't do without the assistance of Tiani men. Di Mingju ponders for a moment, still not raising his head. Let her come in. A moment later, a figure in a snow-white robe leisurely walked into the hall. Her appearance was elegant and beautiful, but the temperament around her was cold and ascetic, giving off a noble and graceful aura that couldn't be profaned. The old man who just spoke looked at Ling Qingwan, then looked at his Jun Shang, and stroked his beard in satisfaction. Ling Qingwan greets the emperor. The ethereal figure slowly bowed. Her skirt swayed gently, and the colorful flowing light lingered and flickered. This caused Ling Qingwan's temperament to become even more radiant and otherworldly. Di Mingju raises his head and sees this scene. His line of sight is fixated on that multicolored flowing skirt, unable to move away. His brows also slightly wrinkle. Emperor, what are you looking at? Ling Qingwan raises her clear and cold little face to look at Di Mingju. There's no humility on her face, she's still neither servile nor defiant, but her pair of bright eyes overflows with a trace of tenderness and honey. But what's wrong with Qingwan's attire? Humph. Di Mingju coldly snorts, his face expressionless as he says, "What business do you have with Ben Jun?" Di Mingju, I heard that someone divined the birth of a descendant of a Shin musician, but these people were all either killed or captured by the people of the polar domain within a short half a month. Di Ming, is this your order? Chapter 216. But, what if it's true? What if the successor of the Shin musicians really did reappear? Di Jun, you should be very clear that if the Shin musicians were to revive, it would bring a great disaster to the Shushan continent. Ling Qingwan's clear and cold eyes flash with a hint of killing intent. As long as it's related to the Shin musicians, we should kill one to warn 100, to prevent future troubles. Ling Qingwan hasn't finished speaking when the chair under the man sitting at the head of the table suddenly shatters into fine powder. A terrible pressure pervades the main hall, making Ling Qingwan's body involuntarily tremble. Di Mingju looks down at her coldly. How Ben Jun does things, when it's Tian Men's turn to comment. Get out. You. Ling Qingwan's complexion is pale, her chest heaving up and down. But she quickly calms down. Because in the entire Shushan continent, there's no one who doesn't know that the polar domain's Di Jun is famous for being unmoved by force or persuasion. His personality is cold and aloof. It's impossible for other women to stand in front of Di Mingju, even if they wanted to see him. But she can still see him from time to time. This is the biggest difference between Di Jun and her, and also the manifestation of Di Jun's friendship towards her. Ling Qingwan's expression slowly returns to calm, and she softens her voice. Why is Di Jun so eager to cover up the news of the Shin musicians? Could it be that Di Jun knows something? Di Mingju's eyes darken, a murderous intent looming in his heart. At the side, Elder Chang suddenly chuckles and says, then Qingwan Fairy is in such a hurry to exterminate the Shin musicians. Is it because back then, Tiani men was completely suppressed by the Shin musicians to the point that they couldn't breathe? After being the number 2 for so long, your mentality is out of balance. Don't talk nonsense. This sentence seems to poke at Ling Qingwan's sore spot, making her shout angrily, my Tiani men is fully deserving of being the number 1 immortal doctor's sect in the Shushan continent. We won't be afraid of anyone, and absolutely won't be afraid of anyone's provocation. Hee, if you're not afraid, then that's naturally the best. This old man thought that Qingwan Xianzi and the people of Tiani men were especially afraid of the Shin musicians' revival one day. Ling Qingwan's chest heaves uncontrollably, the indignation and unwillingness in her eyes are clear. But no matter how she refutes, it's like revealing 300 taels of silver. In the end, he could only leave angrily. As soon as Ling Qingwan left, the old man at the side immediately said, Lord, why must you be so cold to Fairy Qingwan? In the entire Shushan continent, in terms of cultivation, appearance, and identity, Qingwan Xianzi can be said to be the only woman worthy of Jun Shang. Di Mingju frowns, a trace of impatience flashing through his eyes. Elder Chang, who was at the side, immediately shared Jun Shang's worries in a very considerate manner. Elder Ji, have you forgotten that Jun Shang is fated to marry the Lady of Destiny? Hearing this, Di Mingju's brows immediately relax. He turned to look at Elder Chang and nodded subtly. Well said. I'll reward you later. Elder Chang stroked his beard, his smiling face scrunched up into a bowl. However, Elder Ji frowned and his face was full of disdain. What woman of destiny? That's just nonsense. I think Fairy Qingwan is pretty good. If Fairy Qingwan marries Jun Shang, then the entire Tianyi men will belong to our Ji domain. Chapter 217. Old Ji trembles under Di Mingju's azure-like gaze. He hesitantly takes a step back, and says with an awkward smile, "This old man wants to marry her but Qingwan Xianzi only fancies you, Jun Shang, Di Mingju narrows his eyes and coldly says, Ben Jun sees that you have nothing better to do now. Just in time, do something for Ben Jun, what is it? Ben Jun wants 50 of Leng Qingwan's dresses, no, 100. Moreover, they must be able to cross the space barrier and bring them to Yanwu continent. Old Ji opens his mouth wide, dumbfounded. Jun Shang, you're playing with me. Do you know what that dress is woven from? Do you know that Qingwan Fairy only has one? You want 100. 100 Where the hell do you want this old man to find it? What's more, this mysterious ice-pleated fringed skirt has immortal energy attached to it, that's why it can sway so beautifully and fill the eyes with light. How can he sneak into Yanwu continent with this thing? Di Mingju snorts and turns his head to ignore him. Thinking of Leng Qingwan's colorful dress, he becomes even more upset. Di Mingju's woman can't even wear such a beautiful dress, it's simply intolerable. Woo, if he could personally put it on Mayan, it would certainly be very beautiful. Thinking about it, Jun Shang's ears quietly redden. Jun Shang, please spare this old man, Old Ji wails as he crawls on the ground, about to cry and throw a tantrum to get rid of this impossible task. Suddenly, he sees a familiar figure tumbling and crawling in from the entrance of the great hole. Jun Shang. This is bad. Seeing who it is, Di Mingju's pupils fiercely contract. His figure flashes and he appears in front of the person in the blink of an eye. Did something happen to Mayan? The person he grabs by the collar has a sullen face, tears and snot flowing down. Jun Shang, it's Hanya's fault, please kill this subordinate. Speak. What happened? Miss Mayan, she's gone. Under Di Mingju's fierce and murderous gaze, Hanyi trembles as he says, the Junji drugstore next to our courtyard, it's completely empty. Di Mingju's expression tightens, someone kidnapped them. Hanyi shakily shakes his head again, it seems that Miss Jun herself, left on her own. Peng, Di Ming's hand loosened. Hanyi falls to the ground. Di Mingju's face reveals a trace of absent-mindedness, a trace of grievance, and a trace of pain. Mu Yan left. Why didn't he inform me? There wasn't even the slightest bit of lingering or reluctance. Mu Yan, aren't you tempted in the slightest? Everyone had never seen their lord reveal such a lonely expression. They were all dumbfounded. Even Han Yi lowers his head in annoyance. Jun Shang, please punish this subordinate. This subordinate didn't do a good job. Elder Chang sighed softly as well. Then, what are Lord's plans? Why don't we let our main bodies return to the Shushan continent? As soon as his voice falls, Di Mingju's sharp gaze immediately sweeps over. You still haven't married Ben Jun's woman. What did you come back for? Ah. Elder Chang is dumbfounded, then what does Jun Shang plan to do? Seeing Jun Shang's sorrowful appearance just now, he thought that his dignity had been thwarted, and that he was sad and disappointed. But now, it seems like, Di Mingju grits his teeth, sneering, naturally it's to go down immediately and catch that woman. You want to run away from Ben Jun's palm, dream on. Jun Mayan, you dare to run away from Ben Jun's side. Chapter 218. Early the next morning, Shen Jinglin immediately takes the only things in the room and limps towards Mayan's room. At the thought that his sister, who has been missing for so many years, has returned, his weathered face reveals a trace of exuberant vitality. But at this moment, Shen Xiao's malicious voice suddenly comes from behind. Big brother, please stay. My future sister-in-law and your future father-in-law have come to visit, don't tell me you're not going to meet them. The content of the words makes Shen Jinglin's body suddenly stiffen. The trace of a smile and vitality on his face disappears without a trace. Leaning on his cane, he turns around with difficulty, gritting his teeth and squeezing out 2 words, I won't see them. Won't see them. Shen Xiao exclaims, Big brother, what do you mean by that? Don't tell me you don't care about father's life or death. Mother also said that you are the most filial person in the world, it turned out to be a lie. Shen Jinglin's hands tightly clench into fists, and after a long while, he hoarsely says, I see them. Shen Xiao's eyes flash with a contemptuous and proud smile, and she leads Shen Jinglin to the front hall. At this time, in the front hall, Su Yuexiang is gracefully sitting upright, tasting tea, her eyes filled with a gentle smile. And sitting below is an old man with a white beard. And an extremely ugly woman with a wide face, crooked nose, and buck teeth. Seeing Shen Jinglin come in, the woman's small eyes immediately narrow into slits from smiling, her eyes full of infatuation and greed. Jinglin Gij, you've come. 1 day apart is like 3 years, none have missed you to death. Saying that, she pounces toward Shen Jinglin. Shen Jinglin is flustered and disgusted, he wants to dodge. However, he has no internal force, and his legs and feet are crippled, how can he dodge? He stumbles and falls to the ground. His appearance is as miserable as one can get. Shen Xiao and Su Yuexiang, on the side, have a gloating look on their faces. They don't have the slightest intention of going up to help. As soon as the ugly woman sees him fall, she immediately pounces over excitedly, pouts her plump lips, and is about to kiss Shen Jinglin's face. Get lost! Shen Jinglin roars, and ruthlessly slaps her face. After being slapped, the ugly girl immediately threw a tantrum and sat on the ground, waving her hands and feet as she cried loudly. The white-bearded old man's expression suddenly became severe, and he fiercely slapped the table. Shen Jinglin, what do you mean by this? You've already agreed to marry into my Zhou clan. My new is your wife. How dare you make a move against your wife's mistress? Shen Jinglin's face turned purple, his eyes full of shame and indignation. I didn't agree. Jinglin, don't talk nonsense. Do you want to ruin your father's only chance of survival? Su Yuexiang put down the teacup with a bang and interrupted Shen Jinglin's words. Don't forget, in Tianyuan City, the only one who can cure your father is Dr. Zhou. But father he's still lying on the sickbed, his life and death uncertain. Shen Jinglin roared. Do you not believe in this old man's medical skills? Dr. Zhou sneered, fine, this old man will show you one more skill today. Let's go and meet the patient. The group soon arrived at an underground secret chamber. The secret chamber's door is layered with more than a dozen locks. When the last lock was opened, a burst of crazy roars came from inside. Chapter 219. Father. As soon as he saw this person, Shen Jinglin's eyes immediately reddened. He called out in a low voice and walked forward. As if sensing the approach of a living person, the man immediately roared and opened his mouth to bite. Shen Jinglin staggered back a step. Looking at the miserable appearance of her father, Shen Yicheng, she could no longer hold back her tears. At this moment, Dr. Zhou said faintly from behind, "Move aside. I'll treat him first." Saying that, he takes a step forward and reaches out to poke a few times on the Shen father's body. Then, she gives him a bottle of draft. As the draft enters the abdomen, a miraculous thing happens. The Shen father, who has been howling madly all this time, unexpectedly slowly quiets down. He lies down on the ground, not making a sound. Shen Jinglin went forward to check and found that the Shen father had actually fallen asleep. Ever since the Shen father's illness, he hasn't had a good night's sleep. But as soon as Dr. Zhou's medicine entered his stomach, he actually fell asleep. "Dr. Zhou, your medical skills are really brilliant." Su Yuexiang immediately exclaimed in admiration and bowed with her hands folded in front, "Please be kind and save our master." Dr. Zhou stroked his beard with a smug look on his face. "Of course I can save him. But I've already told you my conditions. Shen Jinglin must marry into my Zhou family, otherwise, you guys will have to find someone else. Dr. Zhou, if you don't save him, our master won't be able to do anything." Su Yuexiang exclaimed, her face full of anxiety. Then, she looked at Shen Jinglin. Tears trickled down, looking indescribably pitiful. "Jinglin, Aunt Su is begging you. Our Shen family only has an orphan and a widow left. Without your father's support, our Shen family will collapse. I beg you, please save master." Shen Jinglin fearfully looked at his unconscious father and then looked at Dr. Zhou's daughter. The person in front of him immediately grinned at him, revealing a large bloody mouth, calling out in a sweet voice, "Big brother Jinglin, Nu likes you the most, quickly come and be Nu's husband." Shen Jinglin only felt despair in his heart. If he agreed, the rest of his life would be ruined. But if he didn't agree, what would happen to his father's life? "Jinglin, if you don't agree, then Aunt Su can only agree to the Lu family's request and marry Mayan to their foolish son, Lu Yukai. The Lu family is powerful and wealthy. I believe they will definitely find a way to treat master. No. None of you are allowed to touch Yan Yan." Shen Jinglin abruptly let out a howl, his eyes filled with blood, seeming as if he wanted to fight with his life on the line. Su Yuexiang wipes her tears and says, "I also don't want to push Mayan into the fire pit, but who told the foolish son of the Lu family to take a fancy to Mayan? If master never wakes up, our Shen family will have an orphan and a widow. Even if the Lu family bullies our door to snatch them, what can we do? Alas, it's a pity that Mayan is as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. She actually has to marry that fool from the Lu family." Shen Jinglin gritted his teeth, his eyes full of despair. He slowly unclenched his fists and said in a hoarse voice, "As long as I agree to marry into the Zhou family, you will definitely be able to cure my father." Naturally, this old man is the #1 genius doctor in Tianyuan City. As long as the bridal sedan chair carries you to the Zhou family and you consummate your marriage with my daughter, this old man will immediately cure Master Shen's illness. Dr. Zhou's eyes were sharp as he said this unhurriedly. Chapter 220. Naturally, this old man is Tianyuan City's #1 godly doctor. As long as the bridal sedan carries you to the Zhou family, and you consummate your marriage with my daughter, this old man will immediately cure Master Shen's illness. Dr. Zhou's eyes are sharp, unhurriedly saying this. On the side, Zhou Huanu's body is trembling with excitement. She looks at Shen Jinglin like she's looking at a fat piece of meat that's about to reach her mouth. Shen Jinglin slowly closes his eyes, his face filled with desolation like dead ashes. All right. Before he could finish his words, the door of the secret room suddenly creaks, and it's pushed open again. As the door is pushed open, a woman's clear and melodious voice is heard. I knew that brother was hiding something from me, but I didn't expect that it would be such a stupid thing. Hearing this voice and seeing the person's figure, Shen Jinglin suddenly widens his eyes. Yan Yan. Why would Yan Yan come here? Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro also have shock written all over their faces. One must know that the door of this secret room has a mechanism, and each door weighs 1,000 pounds. Without a key, an ordinary martial practitioner simply can't open it. This Jun Mayan, how did she come down? The people who come in are Mayan and Xiao Bao, who's at her side. Facing everyone's flabbergasted eyes, Xiao Bao disdainfully pats the dust off his hands, then takes Mayan's hand. There's a lot of dust on these iron doors. Xiao Bao doesn't want to dirty Nyangqin's hands. Shen Jinglin suddenly comes back to his senses. Yan Yan, what are you doing here? You even brought Xiao Bao. Quickly leave here. Mayan doesn't pay attention to him. Instead, she crouches in front of the unconscious Shen father. With a complicated expression, she mutters, Father, Yan Yan. Shen Jinglin anxiously raises his voice. Father is fine, he'll be cured very soon. Can you leave here first? As he says this, Shen Jinglin's eyes already carry a sorrowful plea. Mayan's expression hardens, and she says coldly, leave here, and then watch helplessly as brother, for father's sake, for me, marry a woman he doesn't love. Oh, not marry, but marry into her family. Mayan, what are you doing? Su Yuexiang says, your brother has no choice. Isn't it all to save your father? Don't tell me you want to watch your father go crazy and die. Save father. Mayan sneers, Aunt Su, why don't you let your own daughter save him? Why do you want brother to save him? Why do you want brother to save him? Mu Yan immediately interrupts her, unhurriedly looking at Dr. Zhou. What's more, if my brother marries into the Zhou family, will my father's illness really be cured? When Dr. Zhou heard that, he immediately scowled and said with dissatisfaction, who do you think you are? Are you questioning this old man's medical skills? Mayan chuckles, empty words are no proof. What if after my brother marries into the Shen family, Dr. Zhou can't cure him? Then who are we going to reason with? Why don't we do it this way? Dr. Zhou, please cure my father first. Once he's cured, we can talk about marrying into your family. Do you think this old man is stupid? Dr. Zhou said angrily. What if this old man goes back on his word after I cure him? Chapter 221. Mayan sneers, you can't guarantee 100% cure, and you can't tell the illness, yet you still want my brother to marry into your family. Do you think our Shen family are fools? You. Dr. Zhou's complexion alternated between green and white. Fine. Since you don't believe me, then I won't treat you. Dr. Zhou looked like he was about to leave. However, Zhou Huanu realized that Mu Yan wanted to destroy her marriage. Her ugly face immediately distorted as she roared and pounced towards Mu Yan. You dare to snatch my husband, watch me tear your mouth apart, you slut. Yan Yan, be careful. Shen Jinglin exclaims, and recklessly rushes over to block it from Mu Yan. But before he could do anything, Little Treasure had already stretched out a fair and tender finger. He pointed at Zhou Huanu. In an instant, Zhou Huanu's entire body stiffened, unable to move. Mu Yan slowly steps forward and walks to the side of Zhou Huanu, whose face is full of fright. She leisurely says, if you want to prove that Dr. Zhou has a way to treat my father's illness, it's actually very simple. You just need to find a patient with the same illness, and it'll be fine. You! Why aren't you letting go of my daughter? Dr. Zhou shouted in exasperation. Hearing Mu Yan's words, he immediately looks disdainful. What kind of joke is this? You want to find a patient with the same illness for this old man to see. As long as you find it, this old man will treat you. Mu Yan hooks up her lips and smiles brightly. Then, it's a deal. As soon as her voice falls, Mayan suddenly takes off Zhou Hua's lower jaw and pours a bottle of draft inside. Soon after, she reconnects the lower jaw joint. Dr. Zhou was so angry that he stomped his feet and rushed over. Stupid girl, what are you going to do to my daughter? If anything happens to my Nunu, I'll make you pay with your life. With a gentle push from Mu Yan, Zhou Huanu is pushed in front of Dr. Zhou. Just as Dr. Zhou was about to check on his daughter's condition, he saw Zhou Huanu's scowling face suddenly twist. Then, it suddenly opened its bloody mouth and bit down on Dr. Zhou's neck. Ah! Dr. Zhou let out a howl like a pig being slaughtered. With great difficulty, he managed to pull Zhou Huanu away. Mu Yan grabs a piece of chain and swings it, firmly binding Zhou Huanu. Dr. Zhou covered his bleeding neck and looked at his daughter. He saw his daughter frantically trying to jump onto his body. Her mouth was wide open, and the flesh on his neck was still hanging from her neck. From time to time, he would let out beast-like howls. That symptom, actually really was almost exactly the same as the Shen father's. Shen Jinglin is dumbfounded. He looks at Zhou Huanu, then looks at Mayan, Yen, you. Mu Yan tilts her head and smiles at him. Didn't I tell my brother? I know a little about medicine. To be able to replicate his father's illness, this is called a little bit of medical skill. As if she had guessed what he was thinking, Mayan's voice rang out again. So, you don't have to worry, big brother. Whether it's your leg or your father's life, I'll take it back. Even if we have to seize it from the hands of the King Yanluo of Hell. Mu Yan's voice was very soft, only Shen Jinglin and Xiao Bao could hear it. But that soft voice was like a clap of thunder, like the beating of a drum, resounding in Shen Jinglin's ears. His heart, which had already been dead, was slowly being revived. Could it be that father could really recover? Could his leg really be restored? He really didn't need to marry into the Zhou family. Chapter 222. Dr. Zhou fiercely glares at Mu Yan. What did you do to my daughter? Mu Yan says with a smile that isn't a smile, didn't I say? Create a patient who is exactly like my father. Isn't this patient your daughter, Zhou Huanu? Oh, right, it's not exactly the same, because I added something in this poison. That is, this poison can be transmitted through blood, saliva, and teeth, oh. Moreover, I've accelerated the onset of the disease by 100 times. If you can't detoxify it immediately, after an hour, Dr. Zhou, you and your daughter will die a violent death. Dr. Zhou's whole body shudders, his complexion deathly pale, his lips trembling. What did you say? What poison? I don't know. Is that so? So Dr. Zhou doesn't know that my father has been poisoned. Mu Yan shakes her head with a sigh. That's really a pity. If my father can't be cured, Dr. Zhou and your daughter's lives can't be saved. Dr. Zhou's eyes widen in horror, his face full of horror. He suddenly turns to look at Su Yuexiang. Antidote, quickly give me and Nunu the antidote. Saying that, he pounces over and hugs Su Yuexiang's leg. Su Yuexiang's complexion is ashen. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I have the antidote? Didn't you tell me to come and treat Master Shin? Didn't you say that as long as Shen Jinglin? Before Dr. Zhou can finish speaking, there's a sudden, poochie sound of a sword piercing into flesh behind him. Shen Xiaoro pulls out the long sword that's pierced into Dr. Zhou's body, turns the blade, and pierces Zhou Huanu's heart. Damn thing, actually daring to scheme against our Shen family, deserve to die. Saying that, Shen Xiaoro also gives Su Yuexiang a meaningful look. Su Yuexiang immediately understands and nods again and again. Exactly, I didn't expect this surnamed Zhou to be a swindler who deceives the world. Our family's Jinglin was almost deceived by him. Fortunately, you exposed him, Mu Yan. Mu Yan looks at the mother and daughter's performance with a smile that isn't a smile. The girl's smile is obviously very beautiful, but Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro only feel chills all over their bodies, like a prick on their backs. Su Yuexiang laughs dryly. Mayan, I didn't expect that after 5 years of not seeing you, your medical skills have become so good. By the way, you can make Zhou Huanu suffer from the same poison. Does that mean you can also cure your father's illness? When she said this, Su Yuexiang looked anxious and concerned on the surface. However, a trace of fear flashed across his eyes. If Shinicheng woke up, then what she had done. Mayan glances at the Shen father on the ground, and slowly says, it can be cured, but father's poison is too deep. To cure it, it will take at least 7 days. During this period of time, we can only put father in a coma. As soon as they hear that it will take 7 days to cure the Shen father, Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro clearly show expressions of relief. A sinister smile appeared on Shen Xiaoro's face. 7 days. 7 days later, Jun Mayan, you'll be carried to the Liu family, pressed under that fool of the Liu family, wantonly toyed with and humiliated. How could he bring this old fart back to life? Mu Yan looks at the expressions of these two people, and a chill flashes through her eyes. The Shen father is no longer in a state of madness, but in a coma, so he was transferred out of the dark and damp dungeon and transferred to a wing room. Shen Jinglin sits by the window, watching the Shen father's sleeping appearance, the rims of his eyes slightly red. Chapter 223. Why is it that none of the old servants and maids that she's familiar with are left? Shen Jinglin disappointedly shakes his head. I don't know. Ever since you disappeared, father has been looking for your whereabouts, starting from the Su family's fire, one city after another, one country after another. But there's been no news, until a year ago. Father suddenly said that he seemed to have a clue about your disappearance, and wanted to investigate. But after several months, there was no news from father. When he appeared again, he was lying in a pool of blood all over his body. After waking up, he's always had this deranged appearance. Mayan stares blankly, and only after a long while does she say, Father has been looking for me. Yes. Shen Jinglin looks at Mayan guiltily. Yen, father and I have always felt very sorry for you. At that time, we clearly knew that Su Yuexiang wasn't good to you, but we left you to gain experience on our own. When we came back, we found out that they had sent you to the Su family, and you were even pregnant with a child. At that time, father and I tried our best to bring you back, but Su Yuexiang obstructed us in every possible way. I had no choice but to sneak into the Su family's territory to look for you, but who knew that you'd already disappeared? After you disappeared, father often drank to drown his sorrows. When he was drunk, he kept shouting that he was sorry to his sworn brother, sorry to his benefactor, and that he didn't take good care of his only daughter. Shen Jinglin holds Mayan's hand, his voice choked with sobs. Yen, can you forgive father? He's not a good father, but all these years, he really regretted that he didn't take good care of you. Mayan has a complicated expression as she looks at the unconscious Shen father on the bed. After a long time, she whispers, Mayan still hasn't repaid father's kindness in raising me, how could I forgive him? Brother, then how did your leg get injured? Shen Jinglin stares blankly, then the emotions in his eyes slowly tumble. Embarrassment, humiliation, pain, unwillingness, one by one, surge up. Finally, he closes his eyes and hisses, "Yen Yen, brother, please don't ask. We can't provoke that person, we really can't. Just let it go, okay?" Mayan still wants to say more, but she sees Shen Jinglin's despair and pain on the verge of collapse. She swallows back the words on the tip of her tongue. "Okay, brother, don't be sad, I won't ask. But don't worry, I will definitely cure your leg." Shen Jinglin slowly calmed down. Does father really need 7 days to wake up? When Mu Yan heard this, she chuckled. Of course not, father was poisoned. Even if the poison entered his lungs, as long as the antidote was appropriate, he would be able to wake up immediately. Then you said, 7 days. Ha, if I didn't say 7 days, how could those 2 foxes show their tails? Saying that, she mischievously winked at Shen Jinglin. Brother, 6 days later, little sister will treat you to a good show, how about it? 6 days later. When the Lu family's wedding procession arrives in a grandiose manner, Mayan and Shen Jinglin are in the room looking after the Shen father. Hearing the heaven-shaking sound of the suona and gongs outside, Shen Jinglin asked in surprise, "What's going on?" Mayan looks outside with a smile that isn't a smile. It's probably the Lu family's wedding procession. The Lu family is welcoming the bride. Shen Jinglin's eyes widened in shock. When did our Shen family become related to the Lu family? Without waiting for Mu Yan to answer, the door of the room is pushed open with a bang. Chapter 224. There's an unconcealable joy between their brows. Behind Su Yuexiang is Lu Qingkai, dressed in a red wedding dress, but because of his fat figure, he looks like a red pig. There's also the Lu family's master and Madame Lu, who are similarly dressed. As soon as she sees Mayan, Shen Xiaoro immediately laughs. "Mayan Mimi, congratulations, congratulations." As soon as Shen Jinglin sees this scene, he immediately has a bad premonition. When he hears Shen Xiaoro's words, he's even more flustered. "What nonsense are you talking about? Today is Mayan Mimi's big day. As her older sister, of course, I have to congratulate her." Shen Xiaoro looks at the nauseating Lu Qingkai behind her, then looks at Mayan. The smile on her face is even more carefree. When Lu Qingkai sees Mayan, his saliva immediately drips down, and he keeps shouting, "Fairy sister, marry her and sleep." Madame Lu immediately smiles and pacifies him. "All right, rest assured, Qingkai, will immediately marry fairy sister and let you sleep, and give mother a big fat grandson." At this moment, how could Shen Jinglin not know what's going on? In a split second, he's trembling with anger. "You, don't go too far. When did my Shen family and the Lu family have an engagement? You want my Mimi to marry a fool, dream on. Who said there wasn't an engagement?" Madame Lu coldly snorts. "The marriage certificate is here." Shen Jinglin takes the marriage certificate and looks at it. He sees that it's indeed a marriage certificate between the Shen family and the Lu family, but it only states that it's a daughter of the Shen family, not which one. It only says that it's a daughter of the Shen family. If you want to marry so much, why don't you marry your daughter over? Yin Yin's surname isn't Shen, what right do you have to decide her marriage? Facing Shen Jinglin's questioning, Su Yuexiang faintly smiles, and says helplessly, "I can't do anything about this. Who told Mayan to be an outstanding beauty, that the Lu family's young master fancies her, but not our family's Jinglin, why don't you take a look at the Lu family's influence in Tianyuan City? What cultivation does the Lu family's master have? Now that your father is in such a half-dead state, if we don't marry Mayan over today, our Shen family will be finished." Shen Jinglin's complexion was deathly white, his pair of eyes almost spurting fire. Right now, he did not even have the slightest bit of cultivation, but he did not hesitate to block in front of Mu Yan. "Don't you dare touch Yan Yan. Su Yuexiang, you bunch of beasts. 5 years ago, you already ruined Yan Yan once, and now you still want to ruin her. This time, even if I die, I absolutely won't allow you to ruin Yan Yan's life. Shen Xiao sneers, you're a cripple, and you still want to protect Mayan. Hee, don't make me laugh to death. Jun Mayan, I advise you to obediently marry young Master Lu, okay? Although young Master Lu is a little silly, the Lu family has a big business. I believe you will be able to eat and drink well every day in the future. What else do you have to be dissatisfied with? You. Get out. All of you, get out. My little sister won't get married, not even if she dies. Shen Jinglin crazily shoved the group of people who entered the room. However, his legs were inconvenient, and before the other party could make a move, he almost fell down. If Xiao Bao had not been by his side and supported him at the critical moment, he would have been in a sorry state by now. Chapter 225. With a cold snort, he ruthlessly slaps the mahogany table at the side. That sturdy table actually shatters in response. A formidable pressure belonging to an Earth stage powerhouse spreads out, making everyone in the room go silent like cicadas in winter. Shen Jinglin's complexion is even more deathly pale, his internal organs tumble, and he almost spits out blood. But at this moment, a pair of small hands pinch his fingers. Shen Jinglin inexplicably feels a warm current pour into his body, and the pain of all his internal organs being crushed, at this moment, disappears without a trace. He looks down in astonishment, but what he sees is Xiao Bao's icy and delicate little face. For a moment, he's somewhat stupefied. On the other side, after Master Lu slaps out his palm, he wraps up a terrible pressure and walks towards Shen Jinglin step by step. If my Lu family wants to do something, there's nothing in Tianyuan City that can't be done. Originally, I didn't want to make a move on this joyous occasion, but since you actually don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being impolite. Saying that, he raises his hand and slaps the top of Shen Jinglin's head. At the same time, Madame Lu also shouts, someone, go tie that woman up for me and change her wedding clothes. To be able to marry into my Lu family, that's your good fortune, and you actually still dare to resist. If she's still disobedient, you can break the tendons in her hands and feet. In any case, it's enough that she's my Lu family's daughter-in-law, as long as she can bear children. Bang! A sound rings out. A swift and fierce energy is emitted from the bed, and in the blink of an eye, it hits Master Lu's hand. It prevents him from killing Shen Jinglin. I, Shinicheng, am not dead yet. If you want to touch my son and daughter, have you asked me? Cough, cough, cough. The sudden hoarse voice startles everyone in the room. Shen Jinglin stiffly turns his head back, and sees the Shen father sitting up, his eyes clear and bright. The rims of his eyes immediately redden. Dad, are you all right? He immediately throws himself to the bedside, unable to stop his tears from gushing out, tightly grasping the Shen father's bony hand. The rims of Shinicheng's eyes are also red. He holds his hand and chokes with sobs. Jinglin, it's father. I'm sorry to you, and I'm sorry to Yan Yan, cough, cough. As he spoke, he raised his head to look at Mu Yan. His tearful eyes were filled with guilt and self-blame. Yan Yan, father has let you down. I didn't take good care of you, and even let you suffer such humiliation and grievance. When he thought of how his sworn brother had entrusted him with such a task before he left, or even before he died, he couldn't do it. Shinicheng felt so guilty that he did not have the face to continue living. However, now was not the time for him to die. Without waiting for Mu Yan to speak, Shinicheng's expression becomes firm. He clenches his teeth and says, but Yan Yan, don't worry. Father has made a mistake once, but he absolutely won't make a second mistake. Today, even if I have to risk this old life of mine, I will never let these people succeed. Mu Yan looks at this emaciated old man who shakily gets up from the bed. Her expression is somewhat complicated. Say that she doesn't blame the Shin father. Of course it was resentful. Resentful that he caused the death of her mother, Tsing Xiuying. Resentful that he half-heartedly provoked Su Yuexiang. Resentful that he gave her to Su Yuexiang, causing her to suffer so much, even losing her innocence and getting pregnant before marriage. However, in the end, this person has raised her for more than 10 years. After she went missing in her past life, this person has been working hard to find her, never giving up. This person is clearly not related to her, but he really loves her like his own daughter. Chapter 226. But when Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro see Shen Yicheng suddenly wake up, they are almost scared out of their wits. Su Yuexiang is the first to react. She puts on a fake smile and steps forward. Master, you're finally awake. You've been delirious this year, making me worried. Her voice hasn't fallen when Shen Yicheng suddenly raises his hand and ruthlessly slaps her face. Poisonous woman, don't pretend in front of me. I know exactly what you've done all these years. You and that surnamed Zhou conspired at my bedside to kill me and ruin my son's life. Do you think I don't know? Su Yuexiang staggers from the hit. She still hasn't recovered, but when she hears Shen Yicheng's words, her beautiful face turns pale and her whole body shivers. Master, what are you talking about? This concubine doesn't understand. Don't understand. Father Chen's eyes are red. Like a roaring lion, he's itching to pounce on Su Yuexiang and tear her to pieces. You took advantage of me being injured and unconscious to poison my medicine, making me go crazy, turning me into something that's neither human nor ghost. Now, you still want to hide it. Slut, the thing I regret the most in my life is marrying a poisonous woman like you. I can't wait to skin you alive. The Shen father roars. He can't bear it anymore and madly pounces towards Su Yuexiang. Su Yuexiang has been suppressed for so long under the Shen father's majesty. Suddenly discovering that her plot has been exposed, she only feels a roar in her head and even forgets to hide. But Shen Xiaoro sneers and pulls Su Yuexiang away from the Shen father's attack. Then she contemptuously says, Mother, why are you afraid of this old fart? Do you think Shen Yicheng is still the same Shen Yicheng after lying in bed for a year? Look at his swaying appearance, I'm afraid he can't even take one move from Uncle Lu. Uncle Lu, don't you think so? When Master Lu hears Shen Xiaoro's praise, he immediately laughs. He looks at Shen Yicheng with a mocking gaze. That's right, do you think you're still the Shen Yicheng whose name shook Tianyuan? Humph, today, my Lu family is determined to have your daughter. If you are sensible and obedient, then the Shen family will be my Lu family's in-laws in the future. You can also enjoy your old age. If you dare to resist, I'll kill you right now. Hearing this, Su Yuexiang slowly recovered from her fear of Shen Yicheng. Look at Shen Yicheng now. His black hair had turned white. The skin on his face was full of wrinkles. He had only been in bed for a year, but he seemed to have aged 10 years. The terrifying pressure of an Earth-rank powerhouse around him had also disappeared without a trace. Su Yuexiang seemed to realize something at this moment and laughed out loud. Shen Yicheng, you old fart, you deserve this day. All these years, I've served you like a slave, but what about you? In your heart, there is only Tsing Xiuying, that bitch who has already turned into ashes. You treat an adopted daughter better than your own daughter. You called me a poisonous woman. Let me tell you, you asked for it. Today, not only do I want you Shen father and son to die, I also want you to personally see your precious and beloved adopted daughter being defiled by a fool. Ha 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 ha. When Su Yuexiang said these words, her entire elegant face is twisted. Like a malevolent demon. Chapter 227. This time, if it really explodes. Su Yuexiang would indeed be seriously injured, but the Shin father would also die because he's a lamp without oil. At this critical moment, suddenly, the sound of a zither resounds in the room. The palm that the Shin father wants to send out, but before he could lift it, it's caught by a small, fair and tender hand. At the same time, the sound of a zither lingers in the room, accompanied by a young girl's soft and sweet-sounding voice. Isn't it supposed to be a joyous occasion? Why is everyone's murderous aura so heavy? Why don't we all sit down and watch this good show together? Xiao Bao, ask your grandfather and uncle to sit down. The Shin father lowers his head in a daze, but is aghast to see a delicate little face. It's a pink jade-carved baby, only 4 or 5 years old. However, the blow that he wanted to send out after gathering all his internal force, yet under this little baby's gentle grasp, it effortlessly returns to the chi si within his body. What's going on here? Xiao Bao expressionlessly looks at him, using an ice-cold, childish voice to say, "Grandfather, Nyangqin wants you to sit down." Gg Grandpa. This little baby, who's even more beautiful than the golden boy of the celestial immortals, is calling him grandfather? The Shin father is dumbfounded. So much so that he even forgets to resist and question. Caught by Xiao Bao, he staggers back to the bedside and sits down. Xiao Bao looks at Shin Jinglin with his clear, sapphire-like eyes. Without waiting for the little baby to open his mouth, Shin Jinglin immediately says, all right, uncle will sit down." Xiao Bao sees that his grandfather and uncle have both sat down, and only then does he put his small hands behind his back. Like a little adult, he returns to Mayan's side and sticks close to her. Mayan doesn't know when, but she's already leisurely sitting by the low table. There's a zither on the table, and her jade-like fingers are lightly plucking the strings, making a pleasant sound. From beginning to end, she looks like she's leisurely watching a play. There's not even a little bit of fear on her face that she's about to marry a fool. On the contrary, her eyes are full of ridicule and ridicule. Only when Xiao Bao leans against her does she reveal a gentle smile and stroke his head, indicating that he's doing well. Seeing her attitude, Shin Xiaoro inexplicably flustered. He couldn't help but think back to that time at Kolai restaurant. She thought that she could properly humiliate Mu Yen, but who knew that she would be forced by Mu Yen to crawl out in public? "Patriarch Lu, what are you waiting for?" Shin Xiaoro suddenly shouted at Lu Yongli, "Don't you want this woman to be your daughter-in-law? Tie her up and carry her back, and your son can consummate his marriage. If he misses this woman, that silly son of yours will never be able to marry such a good wife again." Madame Lu fiercely glares at Shin Xiaoro, "If you dare to slander my son again, I'll tear your mouth apart." However, seeing that her son is infatuated and drooling at Mayan, she still said to Clan Master Lu, "But what this girl said is right. To avoid any undue delay, I think it's better to carry her back immediately to bow to heaven and earth and get married." Patriarch Lu narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment before waving his hand. "Go! Tie this woman up." The servants of the Lu family heard the order and rushed forward. However, before they could get close, Mayan's hands, which are resting on the zither strings, suddenly move. In an instant, dozens of zither notes turn into blades, and like lightning, they shoot towards the servants of the Lu family. These dozen or so people don't even have the time to raise the swords in their hands. Their chests suddenly emit puffing sounds, and blood splatters everywhere. Soon after, they fall down stiffly. Chapter 228. Shin Jinglin and the Shin father are shocked, blankly looking at Mu Yen, then looking at Xiao Bao by her side. Lu Yongli feels the pressure coming from Mayan's zither sound blade. His face is grave, and there's even a faint fear in his eyes. because he could clearly feel that the pressure from Mayan's zither music was actually stronger than his. Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro looked as if they had seen a ghost, and they retreated a few steps in horror. Shen Xiaoro even felt regret in her heart. Had she lifted a rock and dropped it on her own feet by bringing this fiend back? Unfortunately, it was all too late. Mu Yan smiled and said, "What's the hurry? Didn't I tell you? The show hasn't started yet." Just as she finished speaking, a voice suddenly rang out. Suddenly, footsteps could be heard coming from the front hall. While everyone was still in a daze, they saw more than a dozen people enter in a line and arrive before Mu Yan and Xiao Bao. They all bowed and knelt down. "Greetings, miss, greetings, young master." What followed was a strong smell of blood. When these people raised their heads, Shen Xiaoro saw the face of the leader and instantly screamed in fear. The person in the lead is actually Mu Yan's servant, Yan Haoyan. And the people who rush in are unexpectedly everyone from the Yin camp. Chang Yu took a step forward and reporting to Miss, the Lu family has more than 100 people. Other than the old, the weak, the women, the children, and those who have sold themselves as slaves, all of them have been killed. This is the head of old Master Lu. After saying those words, he raised his hand. A cloth bag fell to the ground, and the knot of the cloth fell to the ground, revealing a bloody head inside. As soon as Lu Yongli saw the head, he immediately let out a heart-wrenching roar, "Father! This head belonged to the Lu family's patriarch. You killed my father. I'll kill you." Ah! Lu Yongli frantically pounces towards Mu Yan. But before he could take 2 steps, a sword was pressed against his chest. Yan Haoyan stood in front of Mu Yan and Xiao Bao, the tip of his sword pressed against Lu Yongli's chest. Profound qi at the peak of the earth stage surged at the tip of the sword, as if it could shatter his heart meridian at any time. Lu Yongli stopped in his tracks in shock. Just a moment ago, he was enraged to avenge his father. At this moment, it was replaced by the fear of death. It was also at this moment that he finally realized what had happened. More than 100 guards of the Lu family died. They were all killed by these people. Even his father, who was at the peak of the earth stage, was beheaded. The Lu family was completely annihilated. Lu Yongli looks at Mayan in shock, and his body begins to tremble. Who exactly did he offend? Mu Yan looked around at everyone in the room, and saw that each of them looked as if they had seen a ghost. Their faces were deathly pale, and she couldn't help but smile leisurely. "Why aren't you talking? The show has just begun. Isn't it a pity that no one is talking?" Saying that, her gaze turned towards Madame Lu. "Just now, didn't you say that you're going to break the tendons of my hands and feet so that I can consummate the marriage with your son?" "No, no, no." Madame Lu was so scared that the fat on her entire body trembled. She repeatedly waved her hand and shook her head, stumbling as she tried to escape. However, just as he took a step, the sound of the zither suddenly rang out. The blade pierced through the air, suddenly slashing through Madame Lu's 4 limbs. "Ah!" A scream like that of a pig being slaughtered resounded through the sky. It also made Madame Lu fall heavily to the ground. 3 of her front teeth were broken, and her nose was crooked. She cried out in fright, wanting to use her hand to cover her mouth that was full of blood. Chapter 229. The tendons in her hands and feet have been broken, and she can no longer move them. Madame Lu has completely become a cripple. Master Lu's eyes widen, looking at his wife's bloody Mayan. His whole body, even his lips are trembling. He points at Mayan and shouts, "My Lu family has no past grievances with you. Even if we had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended your excellency, you don't have to be so ruthless, right?" Mayan sneers, her deep eyes looking at him without a trace of warmth. No past grievances, no past grievances. Then Master Lu, can you please tell me, why did the Lu family and the Shen family make such an engagement? This question caused the bodies of several people present to tremble abruptly. Lu Yongli's eyes reveal a trace of pure fear. But he hears Mayan continue, or should I ask, what did you promise Su Yuexiang to do? Did she agree to make an engagement with the Lu family? Who was the one who was going to marry Lu Qingkai in the beginning? Why did it change to Shen Xiaoru later? If you can answer these questions one by one to my satisfaction, I will spare the Lu family at this moment. What do you think? Lu Yongli looks aghast at Su Yuexiang, then at Shen Jinglin, his voice trembling. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Before he could finish speaking, the sound of metal clashing suddenly resounds. Lu Yongli only feels a sharp pain in his hands and feet, and he falls to his knees with a thud. Before he could let out a mournful wail, Mayan's cold voice reaches his ears. If you still don't want to tell the truth, then next time, you will be exactly like your wife, a cripple. I'll talk. I'll say everything. Please don't break the tendons in my hands and feet. Lu Yongli couldn't bear it anymore, his face streaming with snot and tears as he repeatedly begs for mercy. A year ago, Su Yuexiang suddenly found me and said that she was willing to marry a daughter raised by the Shen family to my son, Lu Qingkai, on the condition that I do something for her. Do what? Lu Yongli once again looks at Shen Jinglin in fear, about to speak. Su Yuexiang screams, surnamed Lu, don't talk nonsense, when did I look for you, Zheng? As the sound of the zither rang out, Su Yuexiang's mouth suddenly split open and blood splattered everywhere. She was in so much pain that she rolled on the ground, moaning in pain. Mu Yan coldly said, it's not your turn to speak yet, what's the rush? He turned to Lu Yongli. Continue. Lu Yongli's intestines were really ruined now, and he hated Su Yuexiang to the bone. If it wasn't for this woman, the Lu family wouldn't have ended up like this. Su Yuexiang she made me find someone to cripple Shen Jinglin during his experiential learning. Hearing this, Shen Jinglin and Shen father suddenly opened their eyes wide, looking over in disbelief. Only Mu Yan remained motionless and continued, then what did you do? Lu Yongli shuddered, and then continued to accept his fate. Shen Jinglin's cultivation is not bad, and he has many companions by his side. My people had no way to succeed at first. Shen Jinglin's original cultivation had already reached the peak of the profound stage, and besides Lu Yongli and great-grandfather Lu, no one else in the Lu family was Shen Jinglin's opponent. Chapter 230. Listening to Lu Yongli's understatement, Shen Jinglin's body can't help but tremble. He thought that the one who crippled him was that terrible person that the Shen family couldn't afford to provoke. But it turned out not to be. The one who really gave him the final blow, turning him into a cripple, turned out to be Su Yuexiang and the Lu family. Why? Why must you be so vicious? Shen Jinglin couldn't bear it any longer, shouting himself hoarse towards Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro. Even if I resent you for killing my mother, I've never spoken ill of you. Although I don't like Shen Xiaoro as much as Yan Yan, I still treat her like a younger sister. Why? Why must you treat me like this? Shen Xiaoro is frightened by his fiendish appearance, taking a step back in fright. But then, as if thinking of something, she righteously says, isn't this all your fault? Who told you to give all the good opportunities to that little slut, Tsing Lin Fang? The opportunity to go to Ziyang Zong should have been mine, but father let you and Tsing Lin Fang go. I'm his biological daughter, aren't I? Hee, I know that little slut likes you, you two dogs have already hooked up. As she speaks, Shen Xiaoro reveals a sinister smile. Seeing that you were crippled, that little slut wept and wept, looking like she wanted to take care of you for a lifetime. She didn't even go to Ziyangzong. This is just right, ha ha ha. In this way, going to Ziyangzong, the opportunity to get close to senior brother Chen is mine. Listening to Shen Xiaorou's vicious words, Shen Jinglin is simply stunned. His voice trembles, his eyes full of fear. Don't tell me that cousin Lin Fang's death wasn't because she slipped and fell into the water. Tsing Lin Fang is Shen Jinglin's cousin. Because the Tsing family has declined, she has been living with the Shen family for the past 2 years. Although Shen Jinglin doesn't love this cousin, he still treats her like a relative. But half a year ago, one day after he became a cripple, his cousin suddenly slipped and fell into the water, dying. At that time, Shen Jinglin was almost completely disheartened, only feeling that his loved ones had left him one by one. He was the bane of his existence, he was the one who caused the death of his loved ones. He didn't expect that all this was not an accident, but man-made. Of course it wasn't an accident. Shen Xiaorou proudly laughed. The person who was originally going to marry that fool from the Lu family was your good cousin, Tsing Lin Fang. I didn't expect that after Tsing Lin Fang found out, she wouldn't agree no matter what and even tried to escape. So I found Patriarch Lu and let him have a good taste of that little slut. Heh heh, her chastity is gone, so it doesn't matter to her whether she marries a fool or not. If she gave birth to a chubby boy, no matter what, he would still be a child of the Lu family. Don't you agree, Patriarch Lu? Shen Xiaorou gave Lu Yongli a dubious look as she spoke. Lu Yongli's whole body was drenched in cold sweat. He looked at Shen Xiaorou with a gaze that wished to tear her into pieces. Did this idiot know what kind of situation he was in? It was one thing for them to be so arrogant and moronic, but why did they have to drag him down with them? Unfortunately, Shen Xiaorou had spent her entire life explaining what it meant to not die if you didn't court death. Chapter 231. Evil creature, I'll kill you. I'll kill you with my own hands. The Shen father couldn't bear it anymore. He suddenly jumps up from the bed and ruthlessly pounces towards Shen Xiaorou. Shen Xiaorou wants to fight back, but the people from the Ink camp are standing guard at the side. How could she have the chance to make a move? So very soon, the Shen father presses Shen Xiaorou to the ground. He raises his hand, and ruthlessly slaps her face. Shen Xiaorou screams like a pig being slaughtered, "You dare to hit me, I'm a disciple of Ziyangzong. Jun Mayan, if you dare to kill me, Ziyangzong won't let you off. Save me, quickly save me ah. You idiots." However, there's no one in the field who pays attention to her. Only the sound of the Shen father's slaps can be heard. Shen Jinglin's body trembles. He couldn't bear it anymore, and he curls up into a ball. Tears crazily pour out from his eyes. The deathly stillness and despair on his body is like a huge cage that wraps around him, making him unable to break free. Mayan promptly supports him, inserting the silver needles into his acupuncture points to help him get through this hurdle. "Brother, don't be like this. If Sister Lin Fang was still alive, she would definitely want you to live well." Shen Jinglin slowly opens his eyes. A man of iron and steel, but right now, he's crying like a child. "Yen Yen, I've let her down, I've harmed her. I clearly promised Uncle that I would take good care of her. But I let her suffer such humiliation. 5 years ago, I couldn't protect you, and now I still can't protect Fanger. What's the use of me as a brother? What qualifications do I have to live? Brother, this has nothing to do with you." Mayan's voice is choked with sobs, and she tightly hugs Shen Jinglin's trembling body. "The one who has to apologize is me. If I had let go of my resentment earlier, if I had come back earlier, you wouldn't have had to suffer so much. Brother, if you want to blame someone, blame me." Scalding tears fall on Shen Jinglin's face, slowly stabilizing Shen Jinglin's mood that's on the verge of collapse. Seeing the remorse in Mayan's eyes, seeing Xiao Bao's panic and helplessness because of Mayan's crying, his big eyes slowly fill with tears. Shen Jinglin suddenly realizes that he can't collapse, can't destroy himself, otherwise, Yan Yan will certainly feel guilty for life. Yan Yan, don't cry. Shen Jinglin reaches out to wipe away the tears on Mu Yan's face, and softly says in a hoarse voice, "How can you be blamed for these things? If it weren't for you, my brother might never have known the truth. Don't worry, Big Brother won't collapse. Big Brother will live well. Once you're cured, I'll have to protect you." With tears in her eyes, Mu Yan heavily nodded. Shen Jinglin gently caressed her head, just like how he always comforted and teased her when they were young. Even though his little sister had become so powerful, almost invincible. But in Shen Jinglin's heart, she was still the little girl from 5 years ago who liked to follow behind him, calling him Big Brother, secretly crying and smiling sweetly at him. "Brother, the ones who should be punished are those crazy bastards." Mayan wipes away her tears, restraining the demeanor of a little girl that she hasn't shown for 5 years. Her cold gaze turns towards Su Yuexiang and her daughter, as well as the Lu family's people. Lu Yongli and Su Yuexiang were so scared by her clear black and white eyes that they trembled and almost fainted. Chapter 232. Jun Mayan, I'm telling you, I'm a disciple of Ziyang's sect. If you dare to touch me, you're dead. My master and my senior brother won't let you off. Chang Yu helps the swaying Shen father to sit down. The Shen father's eyes are filled with blood, fiercely glaring at Su Yuexiang and Shen Xiaoro. His whole body is emitting a baleful aura, making people believe that if he hadn't exhausted his internal force and his body was weak, he would definitely tear these two people to pieces. Speak. 5 years ago, what did you do to Yan Yan? Is it because of you two beasts that she lost her chastity? Ha 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 ha. Hearing the Shen father's angry question, Shen Shaoling couldn't help but laugh. Looking at Mayan, there's an indescribable carefree pride in her eyes. So what if I did it? Who told that slut Jun Mayan to have a foxy appearance? She's clearly not the Shen family's biological daughter, but her treatment in the Shen family is better than mine, the real eldest miss of the Shen family. Each and every one of the men by my side are head over heels in love with her, completely not putting me in their eyes. How could I bear this? It's as if she's remembering her own grievances in those days. Shen Xiaoro's swollen pig-like face distorts into a sinister expression, then she smiles complacently. So, I took advantage of the fact that you and Shen Jinglin were traveling and had my mother send her to my uncle's house. Ha, I know that my useless cousin has been drooling over this slut's beauty for a long time. I just casually provoked him, and gave him some aphrodisiac, and he couldn't wait to lay his hands on this slut. The more Shen Xiaoro talks, the more excited she gets, as if she's very satisfied with her masterpiece from that year. But Su Yuexiang isn't as brainless as her. From Mayan's every move just now, she knows how ruthless this woman is now. Don't say any more. Su Yuexiang pulls Shen Xiaoro back, forcing out a smile. I think you must be possessed. What nonsense are you talking about? Mayan is your sister, you've always loved her, haven't you? Are you kidding me? Shen Xiaoro doesn't appreciate it at all, shrieking, who would take that foxy slut as their sister? Paw! I wish I could tear her into pieces. Mother, why are you so timid now? Why should he be afraid of them? Even if they ate a bear's heart or a leopard's gall, they wouldn't dare do anything to me. Don't forget, I'm a disciple of the Ziyang house. Saying that, she shakes off Su Yuexiang, and continues to speak proudly. 5 years ago, I originally wanted my cousin to bring a group of hoodlums to play you to death. I didn't expect that a slut like you would actually run away, and even run into the forbidden area that no one in Yanwu continent dares to enter. Slut, you're really lucky. Otherwise, you would have died 5 years ago. But it didn't matter. Even if you didn't die, you still lost your innocence. Moreover, you lost your chastity to a wild man whose identity you still don't know. Getting pregnant before marriage, becoming the laughing stock of everyone, haha. Jun Mayan, what are you so arrogant about? Bang! Shen Jinglin abruptly stood up, his scarlet eyes unwaveringly staring at Shen Xiaoro, his body trembling because of the extreme suppression. Yen Yen, can you let me deal with this woman? Mu Yen smiles faintly, of course. As she speaks, the sound of the zither rises from her hand, and a mellow and pleasant melody rings out. But what's strange is that this time, the melody doesn't turn into a blade. Instead, it's like a trickling stream, heading towards Shen Xiaoro alone. Chapter 233. Ah! What did you do to me? Why can't I move? Shen Xiaoro suddenly screams. Her body seems like it wants to struggle with all its might, but no matter how she moves, there seems to be innumerable invisible threads firmly binding her, making her unable to budge even half a step. And Shen Jinglin is already walking in front of her, step by step. Shen Jinglin, I'm warning you, I'm a disciple of Ziyang's sect. Ziyang's sect is the most protective. If you kill me, Before Shen Xiaoro could finish her threat, there's only a ripping sound. Her arm actually flies straight out. Blood splatters everywhere. Shen Jinglin's bloodshot eyes look at her, but there's not the slightest trace of fluctuation in the depths of his eyes because of her screams. This sword is for everything you did to Yen Yen back then. Swish! This sword is for Fonger. The second sword slashes out, and Shen Xiaoro's other arm also flies out. She falls to the ground, blood gurgling out from her arm. The severe pain makes her convulse all over. At this moment, she's finally afraid, terrified. She wriggles her body to escape, crying out, Don't, brother, I was wrong. Please let me go. I'm your little sister, I'm your blood sister. Shen Jinglin slowly lifts his sword once again. Su Yuexiang suddenly sobers up, screaming as she pounces over, Don't kill her, don't kill my daughter. However, before she could reach Shen Jinglin, she's ruthlessly kicked out by the Ink Camp's people. Su Yuexiang rolls and lands in front of the Shen father. Meeting Shen father's pair of eyes brimming with resentment, she shudders. On the other side, Shen Jinglin's sword falls for the third time. This sword is for you. Even now, you still want to hurt Yen Yen. One of Shen Xiaoro's legs flies out. Ah! Shen Xiaoro lets out a short scream, her body bounces a bit, her eyes roll back, and she faints. From the stump of her thigh, blood is gushing out like a fountain. At this rate of bleeding, as long as it continues for a while, Shen Xiaoro will undoubtedly die. But how can she let her die so easily? Mayan lightly plucks the zither strings. Two completely different Guqin sounds intertwined. Ground Prison and Echo Aura were combined into one. The blood on Shen Xiaoro's thigh had actually stopped, and she slowly opened her eyes. However, the intense pain did not disappear. She opened her mouth, gasped for breath, and wailed. This time, there was no longer any pride in her eyes, only fear and cowardice. Spare me. I beg of you to spare me. Boo-hoo-hoo. I'm a disciple of the Purple Sun sect, how can you treat me like this? Shen Jinglin laughed coldly. If the Purple Sun sect wants to find someone for revenge, then they can put it all on me. After saying that, he thrust his sword out again, but this time, it wasn't to cut off her remaining leg. Instead, it pierced through her chi-si. A hoarse scream came out from Shen Xiaoro's mouth once again. But this time, she couldn't even struggle. She could only powerlessly fall to the ground, unable to move. Shen Jinglin throws away the blood-stained sword in his hand and hobbles back to Mayan with difficulty. Yen, big brother has finally avenged you. Before she could finish her sentence, tears were already rolling down her cheeks. Chapter 234. Seeing that familiar smile, Shen Jinglin could no longer hold on, his body softening and collapsing. Yan Haotian's eyes and hands are quick to catch him. Mayan clasps his wrist and examines it. After confirming that he's just collapsed, she breathes a sigh of relief and lets Yan Haotian take him back to his room to rest. Father. After Shen Jinglin is sent away, Mayan looks at the Shen father. Su Yuexiang is your wife after all. How to deal with her, it's up to you. Shinicheng slowly nods, gets up and crouches in front of Su Yuexiang. Su Yuexiang trembles as she looks at him, her face covered in snot and tears. Master, I've served you for so many years. Even if I don't have any meritorious service, I've still worked hard. Spare me, spare me. Shinicheng calmly looks at her, then bitterly closes his eyes. The thing I regret the most in my life is that I was bewitched by you for a moment and had a one-night stand with you. Not only did I cause the death of my wife, I even caused my 2 children to suffer. Su Yuexiang, from today onwards, you and I will no longer be husband and wife. Su Yuexiang's eyes widen and she hisses, Shinicheng, what do you mean by that? It means that I'm divorcing you, this poisonous woman. From now on, you and your vicious daughter are no longer people of my Shen family. Shinicheng, you can't divorce me. I have nothing now. If you divorce me, how am I going to live? Su Yuexiang herself doesn't have the slightest bit of cultivation. Now that her daughter is crippled, the Su family will not accept her. How was she going to survive after she was chased out? However, Shinicheng has a resolute look on his face. He doesn't even look at her, as if he's already disgusted with her to the extreme. Su Yuexiang looks around blankly, panicked and desperate. Suddenly, her eyes fix on Mayan and Xiao Bao. The despair in her eyes instantly transforms into pure hatred. Slut, it's all because of you. If you hadn't come back, everything would be fine. You harmed my daughter, harmed me. You won't let me live, so I'll make you wish you were dead. Su Yuexiang roars as she madly pounces on Xiao Bao. She wants to kill Mayan, she wants Mayan to taste the pain of losing her son. She wants Jun Mayan to suffer a fate worse than death. The Shen father never thought that he would let Su Yuexiang live. But this crazy woman actually wanted to hurt his grandson. She immediately let out an anxious roar, Su Yuexiang, stop. Don't hurt my grandson. However, his body was already weak, and Su Yuexiang's attack was sudden, so how could he stop her? Su Yuexiang's long and sharp fingers were about to reach Xiaobao's face. But everyone present was calm and collected, as if they didn't see this scene at all. Mu Yan is leisurely plucking the zither strings. The people of the Ying camp are bored as they pick their fingers. It was as if no one cared about Xiao Bao's life or death. Su Yuexiang let out a burst of laughter like a broken bellows. She suddenly stretched out her hand to strangle the child's tender neck. Bastard, go to hell. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being Jun Mayan's son. The last word, son, had not yet been uttered. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from his wrist, and at the same time, there was the sound of bones breaking. A pair of chubby little hands clasp Su Yuexiang's wrist, and gently breaks it. The bones in Su Yuexiang's hand are like fragile, withered twigs, broken. Chapter 235. Xiao Bao loosens his hand, and pushes his palm towards Su Yuexiang's chest. A powerful internal force suddenly erupts. With a bang, Su Yuexiang flies out stiffly, landing on the open space outside the door. She suddenly spits out a mouthful of blood and passes out. The Shin father is still reaching out to save his grandson. Seeing this scene, he's completely flabbergasted. Dumbfounded. Is this a poem that a 4-year-old child can make? This 4-year-old child is his grandson. Is he really not dreaming? Xiao Bao withdraws his hand, his little face still cold, but those who are familiar with him can feel that there's some uneasiness in his eyes. Grandfather, Xiao Bao only broke all her ribs, he didn't kill her. So, this isn't going against Nyangqin's words, let grandfather deal with this hateful woman, right? Saying that, Xiao Bao also looks at Mayan. Seeing Mayan smile at him, his taut little body suddenly relaxes. The Shin father abruptly comes back to his senses, and his head immediately shakes like a rattle. Xiao Bao is right, Xiao Bao did a great job. That bad woman wanted to hurt Xiao Bao, it doesn't matter if Xiao Bao killed her. Grandfather was just surprised, I didn't expect our Xiao Bao to be so powerful. Xiao Bao blinked, and a layer of ripples appeared in his big blue eyes. They were so resplendent that they looked like sparkling and translucent gems. There's pride, joy, and the warmth of a grandchild that has never been there before. Mayan withdraws her gentle gaze, and looks at the only one still standing in the field, the Lu family's master. As soon as he meets her gaze, Lu Yongli shivers, and he kneels down with a thud. Miss June, this one was bewitched, and my brain was muddled with dog shit, that's why I attacked you. I beg you to be magnanimous, and let my son and I go. I can spare your 2 little lives. Mayan chuckles, and then throws out a porcelain bottle. The porcelain bottle rolls in front of Lu Yongli. Mayan continues, this is a draft that can cripple 90% of your cultivation. If you obediently drink it, and leave Tianyuan City and never come back, then I will spare your and your son's lives. Lu Yongli shivers all over again, and there's clear fear and struggle in his eyes. You can also choose not to drink. Mayan chuckles, then I'll settle the score with you, the Lu family injured my brother. I'll drink. I'll drink. Lu Yongli no longer dares to hesitate, and he picks up the draft and pours it into his mouth. A burning pain surges from his qi, and he lets out a mournful howl. Lu Yongli almost feels that he's been fooled. This isn't some draft that can cripple 90% of his cultivation, it's clearly trying to put him to death. This kind of pain lasted for a full quarter of an hour before the pain in his qi and his limbs and bones slowly disappeared. But at the same time, he of his body. When he casually circulated his profound energy, he found that his meridians were blocked and his sea of qi dried up. There was not even a tenth of his profound energy left. He had already turned from an earth-grade expert to a yellow-grade trash. Lu Yongli's body trembled. His eyes were sore, and his heart was filled with hatred. But as soon as he raises his head and meets Mayan's clear and bright eyes, all his resentment is like a punctured balloon, completely replaced by fear and dejection. He seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. He grabbed his son and was about to leave. But Lu Qingkai is still drooling over Mayan, beautiful wife, sleep, want fairy sister. Lu Yongli was so scared that his soul almost left his body. This idiot actually dared to provoke that fiend. Chapter 236. No, no, no. There's no need to abide by it. Lu Yongli was so scared that he couldn't even speak properly. Mu Yen smiles, her smile languid and devilish. I've always been the most law-abiding. Since I've set the rules, of course I have to abide by them. Shinxiaro, am I right? Lying half-dead on the ground with only one leg left, Shinxiaro widened her eyes in horror. She stared at her with eyes full of resentment and fear. What do you think? Patriarch Lu, are you satisfied with this daughter-in-law of yours? Shen Xiaoro screamed, I don't want to marry a fool. I don't want to marry that idiot. Jun Mayan, you can't do this to me, you slut, I'm going to kill you. I'll kill you. When Lu Yonglei hears that Mayan really wants to fulfill the engagement, he immediately feels that he has just survived a disaster. Although Shen Xiaoro had become a good-for-nothing, only such a good-for-nothing could be controlled by the current him, right? What's more, Shen Xiaoro had a young and beautiful face. Perhaps she could carry on the Lu family's ancestral line. Even if they couldn't carry on the family line, they could still make a lot of money by selling them to the brothel. Alright, thank you Miss June. I won't marry him. I don't want to marry a fool. Oh. Shen Xiaoro's mournful scream slowly faded away. Su Yuexiang was thrown out of the Shen family, and the Lu family's underlings scattered in confusion. It also meant that the matter of the Shen family had come to an end. However, there are still a lot of things that Mu Yan needs to worry about. For example, the current servants of the Shen family. These people were all Su Yuexiang's confidants. When the Shen father and Shen Jinglin were in trouble, not to mention loyally protecting the Lord, it was enough for them not to add insult to injury. Mu Yan directly drove all these people out, and let Ru Yan bring in a group of gentle people from the ghost cities Wanrenku. There were also medicine shops. Yan Haotian and Feng Haitang have already bought a courtyard for her. Mu Yan is very satisfied with both the place and the layout. Chen Qingfeng and Old Tao had also arrived. Logically speaking, it should be easy to open a shop. However, Mayan is speechless as she discovers that Tianyuan City has its own unique rules. In order to open a medical center and medicine shop here, they would need to go through layers of verification, and it would take at least half a year. Of course, these are not what Mu Yan is most concerned about. What she cared about the most was Shen Jinglin and Shen Yicheng's injuries. Shen Yicheng's injuries were still manageable. Although the poison had entered his lungs and damaged his heart and arteries, as long as he recuperated in a medicinal bath and used golden needles to expel the poison, he would recover sooner or later. The troublesome thing was Shen Jinglin's injury. His leg bones were broken many times, his hamstrings were torn, and his muscles were atrophied. His chi was pierced and contracted, causing the meridians in his body to stagnate and shrink. To be completely cured, the withered bones and tendons had to be revived and muscles regenerated. He had never heard of such an injury, let alone treating it. Mu Yan and Xiao Bao flipped through the books in the space for a long time, but they couldn't find a cure. Just as she's pondering whether or not she should try alchemy again, she hears Feng Haitang say from outside the room that Shen father is looking for her. After Mu Yan left, Xiao Bao remained in the space, frowning as he earnestly searched for the pill recipe. There was an unimaginably huge bookshelf in the space, but there weren't many books on it. It didn't take long for him to finish flipping through everything that he could. However, he still had no clue. Little Treasure slightly puffed up his cheeks, and a trace of worry appeared on his white and tender face. He knew that Nyangqin especially wanted to cure Jiuqin. If Jiuqin's illness couldn't be cured, Nyangqin would definitely be sad. Would she cry like that day? As long as Xiao Bao remembers the appearance of his Nyangqin shedding tears on that day, he would feel so uncomfortable that he couldn't breathe. Chapter 237. The stupid rabbit that was sleeping soundly at the side seemed to have sensed its little master's worries. Suddenly, it turned over and flipped through the books with its claws, blinking its beady eyes. Suddenly, its hind legs kicked off and it leaped up. This time, he didn't jump 3 or 4 meters like before. Instead, he shot straight up into the sky. Xiao Bao let out a puzzled "aw" and looked up. The rabbit flew up more than 10 meters. Then, it suddenly bloomed like fireworks in the sky. His tiny body, which was only the size of 2 palms, suddenly became so huge that it covered the sky and covered the entire treasure house. What followed was the doctor's long, drawn-out growl. The sound did not sound like that of a rabbit, a lion, a tiger, or any other creature in the world. However, it seemed to be able to converge into a kind of energy that heavily struck one's soul. Xiao Bao stared blankly, unable to come back to his senses for a long time. Because it was too far away, he couldn't clearly see what the rabbit had become. He only felt that there was a vast, distant, and suffocating aura spreading in the air. Bang! With a loud bang, the rabbit's paw landed on one of the bookshelves. The old bookshelf, which was originally empty, suddenly lit up with a dazzling golden light. Following that, a book flew out from the empty bookshelf and landed in front of Xiao Bao with a whoosh. Xiao Bao instinctively caught the book and looked at it, only to see 6 large characters written in bold and flamboyant calligraphy, Supreme Draft Classics. Flipping open the book, there's another line of small characters inside: mysterious, spiritual, and immortal. These 3 energies are the essence of heaven and earth. When refined to the extreme, even if it's a draft, it can still bring the dead back to life and grow flesh and bones. Flipping to the next page, he saw the prescription for the muscle and marrow cleansing fluid. It's clearly written at the back that this kind of draft can not only activate the withered muscles and bones in the body, it can also reshape the qi and perfect one's aptitude. Xiao Bao suddenly raised his head, and his usually cold voice carried a rare trace of excitement. "Bunny!" High up in the sky, the huge white figure heard his voice. As if it was leaking air, it began to shrink rapidly. As it shrank, it spun and fell until it fell into Little Treasure's arms. It had already reverted back to that chubby, furry, stupid rabbit. Xiao Bao's blue eyes sparkled as he stared at the rabbit. The rabbit's little mung bean eyes revealed a rare trace of pride, and it licked Xiao Bao's hand. Then, his legs turned over and he fainted. Xiao Bao was startled at first, but he found that the rabbit was only sleeping soundly. She even rolled over and rubbed her soft belly against his chest. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. His small hand picks up that classic book on supreme drafts. His taut little face shows a trace of an undetectable smile. Nyangqin would definitely like it if she saw it. "Father, is there anything wrong with your body?" As soon as Mayan enters the room, she sees the Shen father sitting by the window, a pair of turbid eyes blankly staring at the distant sky, deep grief and necrosis flowing out from the bottom of his eyes. Hearing Mu Yan's words, the Shen father suddenly comes back to his senses and smiles at her. "Yan Yan, you are here." Mayan steps forward and grabs his hand to feel his pulse. Then she slightly frowns. "Father, the injuries in your body have already healed, and the poison has basically been removed, but if you continue to be depressed in your heart, I'm afraid that your cultivation will not advance even an inch in this lifetime." The Shen father doesn't respond to Mayan's words, but blankly stares at the beautiful girl in front of him. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.